Tomorrow night, we are live from McIntyre's at 901 Commerce Street in downtown Houston. Come and see us at McIntyre's today. We're on all throughout the day with an evening show as well as we welcome you to the Field of 68. We began with 360 some odd teams, and we end with UConn, the Connecticut Huskies, and the San Diego State Aztecs tomorrow night. He's Rob Dauster, he's Randolph Childress, he's Terrence Oglesby, and I'm John Fanta. And I got to tell you, fellas, Randolph, waking up this morning and thinking about the fact that, like back on November 7th, we talk about all these teams. We look at the whole scene. If I had told you on November 7th, Connecticut, San Diego State for all the marbles in college basketball, you would have said what?
I would have with the Field of 68 just because I would have had to deal with this guy. That's really what would have happened. So if I knew that we would end up here, I would have quit. I would have quit a long time ago.
You would have sent in the papers.
I just would have said, I'd have sent him my note.
Hey, he had his hoorah last night. Oh my God. Somebody had to take Rob's mic.
That's why it's so easy for us, CEO, to deal with the fans. We've been dealing with Rob all the time.
Like, you think we're worried?
All the smoke from the fans.
You think we're worried about
You
think we're worried about a couple people from Hartford, Connecticut? No, sir. I got to deal with Rob.
I don't know about that. You haven't met all of them. They make him sometimes look sane. Have you come down from Cloud 9?
No. Where am I going to go?
He's not even got to his cruising altitude. If they win tomorrow, are you kidding me?
Are you kidding? I haven't even seen Cloud.
Oh, man, he hasn't got to the clouds.
I'm on Cloud 2 right now. It's still a business trip.
He's giving this Kobe Bryant answer. Job's not finished.
We didn't come here to make a national title game. You come here to make the finals? No, go sit
in the Sweet 16. He said they were playing with house money.
Show when I slid out the chair. That's what I need right now.
You know, it's funny. We're here at McIntyre's.
Low for you to slide out. If you try to do it, you
I gotta go backwards.
We're not sending anybody to the hospital. No. Absolutely not.
Pretty steep drop off.
Watching home right now. There's a solid 3-foot drop off between me and Fanta. If either of us leans back a little bit too far, you're gonna have the clip of the century. Let me tell you.
Yeah, the clip of the century, and Trevor might be making another graphic for other reasons.
R.I.P. John Fanta.
There's fans up here at McIntyre's, beautiful, on Commerce Street. Thanks to them for having us. Expect this place to keep filling up as the day goes on because it's awesome. It feels like we're on Cloud 9 with you. There's fans. We're like elevated on a stage. I think this was by design by you. What impressed you the most last night about the Huskies?
The fact that they were able to do it with Jordan Hawkins operating at about what the staff said to me was he was about 50% of what he normally is. He didn't have the energy. He didn't have the stamina.
50%.
I've never seen that dude bend over, grab his knee, suck and win before like that, and he was last night. T.O., you know about this, man. When you don't eat anything for 24, 36, 48 hours, you lose that energy level.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. Obviously, I'm glad that he was able to come out and play. I think he gave them an instant boost whenever he hit that three at the beginning of the game. He didn't do much after that, guys. We know that, but for him to come out and show that he was ready to play, defend, and do some different things, that was all great and good. The biggest thing that I took away from yesterday's game is something that, guys, we've been talking about all season long, and that's their depth. The last 6 minutes of the first half, Dan Hurley realized, hey, my second unit's really going. I'm not going back to my starting guys. This team that I have on the floor right now, it was Calcaterra, it was Naheem Alinya, it was Hassan Diarra. They brought a spurt of energy that made them different than what you're used to on that scouting report. This team is legitimately 9 to 10 players deep, and there's no drop-off. I think that's the most significant thing. And then in the second half, too, Dan Hurley's ability to manage runs that you knew Miami was going to go on. His ability to mitigate that, to slow down the tempo when need be, to call timeouts when need be, I thought showed a lot about what Dan Hurley is as a coach. Not that we didn't already know that, but his ability to manage and micromanage the game at points in the second half I thought was huge.
How big has it been in the last 2 months, and how much have you seen Dan Hurley grow as a coach?
I think it's less as a coach and more as just the way that he is mentally dealing with a lot of this stuff, right? Like, Fana, you know him as well as I know him, probably better than I know him. And he is a guy that didn't handle stress well for a while, right? And I do think that being able to kind of, you know what I think part of it is more than anything else, RC? I think he has the confidence that his team can figure it out. Like, you don't have to micromanage every single little detail because his team is going to go out there and find a way to win a game. Does that make sense?
You know what it is? What you find out as a coach, and you heard Shaka allude to this the other day, is you don't have as much control as you say, as you think. And once you realize that, you're better for it. It's just about knowing your players and knowing what they're about to do. You know guys when you're like, hey, this guy's going to take this shot. This guy's going to, he gets caught up in the moment. He's going to get sped up or whatever it is. You don't have as much control as you think. These players out there, sometimes they do things and you're like, what the hell was he thinking? That's not what we do. That's not what we coach. That's not what we tell our guys. And I think you see some of that out here. He just has this group. There seem to be, we talked about with most of these teams how connected they are, how together they are. And I think you just see that with this team. They don't care who comes in. There's no pouting. I mean, guys like Clingan sitting there, how many freshmen are going to come in there knowing they got a guy that can return like that and then come in and play behind him, play his role, and love it?
Yeah, and another thing is, I think that's a great point that you talk about, Shaka. Like, get your guys in position. I think, to be honest with you guys, college guys have a much harder time with that than the pros do, because Popovich talks about that all the time. I can write up whatever set I want. It's going to come down to the last 8 seconds of that 24 clock. I have to my job is to put them in position to where they're at their best, and then you let them rock. Hurley has gotten to that point now, and whenever you put a roster that's good enough to make plays and to make shots and to put themselves in position to get to their strengths, that's when the coaching part, it only takes you so far. Coaching only takes you so far. Then you have to have the dudes in place to make those plays.
In 2023, what's the percentage for coaching in college basketball of X's and O's versus having to be a psychologist versus sort of letting your guys rock?
It's all of the above. It's how you balance that. Because you got to have guys first. You got to have the guys first to do that, and then you got to have the trust with those guys and the understanding of that. X and O's matters, right?
Absolutely.
X and O's matters. I'm not discrediting that at all. I mean, you can see a difference in some of these guys. Some guys are motivators, some guys are strategists.
Right.
Understanding what it takes for you to be successful against any opponent. I think you got to be able to adapt if you're not overly talented. So everything depends on your personnel and how you decide to do that team. This team is as talented as anybody else. They got great balance. They win on the inside. They win with perimeter shooting. They just have a tremendous amount of balance that keeps people off guard.
Well, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think more than anything else, none of that works unless you're able to get everybody to buy in, right? The thing about college right now is that there's so many different ways that you can kind of have things pulled apart, right? Whether it's people focusing on NIL, whether it's, okay, I didn't start this game,
right,
and then your AAU coach is like, you need to go put your name in the portal, you need to find a new place to go. Some of it is, I'm not getting enough shots, which means I'm not going to be able to have a chance to go to the NBA, I'm not going to get my contract. What you see with this UConn group, and you see it with San Diego State, and you saw it with Florida Atlantic, and you saw it with Miami, was everybody understood that they were fighting for a common goal, one, and two, if you win, a rising tide lifts all ships. And the perfect example of that to me, T.O., is Donovan Clingan. Donovan Clingan is playing, 12 minutes a game right now? He's coming off the bench, 4-star freshman, the second coming of Walker Kessler. And he still is projected, well, I don't want to say projected, but he still is a guy that could end up being a first-round pick. And part of the reason is he's shown that he can accept a role when he's being asked to play a role. So to me, the most important thing you could do as a college coach is get everybody on the same page, pulling towards the same goal. Because I think we've seen teams, and I don't know if I want to mention them here by name specifically, but that got pulled apart because not everybody was fighting for the same thing. They were fighting for themselves.
Are you talking about North Carolina? Sounds like you're talking about North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay. No, I want to allude to kind of what your question was, like what percentage is it?
Yeah, I was curious to understand it because a lot of coaches, the reason why I asked the question was a lot of coaches will say to you in mid-January, it's 90% having to deal with something new in my office every morning. I'm not actually focusing on our zone or our press. I'm not focusing on this in-game situation. I'm having to deal with personalities. I'm having to deal with egos.
But that's why I say, I'm sorry, Theo, it's every job and every situation is different. And I think sometimes you may require one thing here. You're managing and all that. Because I think the biggest thing people talk about from NIL, you got agents in locker rooms now, things you don't have to manage. You have to get out in front of this and accept it. So when you're veteran coaches now,
Or you can
they
just
didn't deal with
completely
this years
accept it.
ago.
You can
That'll be
just,
something.
you can just accept it and be like, I'm not going to touch it,
And some
which is
people
what
might say,
Larry did.
or you might say, hey, I don't want to deal with it. Like, I'd be curious to talk about Boeheim tonight.
But here's the thing. That's what you need to do now.
You have to.
Here's the thing. We hear so many coaches complain and bicker about, NIL, I got to deal with this. This guy's making this money. It's not your business.
You're not the only one.
It's not your business. And here's the thing, like, let these guys make money. Your job isn't to regulate that. And as much as many control freaks as we have in college basketball, this is not something that they need to extend that reach to.
I think that's, to answer your question, is the biggest struggle that they have. Is that
but it shouldn't be a struggle.
You realize you don't have as much control of that as you don't.
You
can't control NIL.
Why shouldn't it be a
You
struggle?
can't control NIL. You can't control the agents and what they're doing. You have and once you understand I have absolutely no control over those things, let me just try to embrace it and then help them as much as I can.
But these guys are control freaks to a degree.
But the better coaches are adjusting, and if you still stick to this old school, I have to have control, you see guys jumping in a portal because it will not work.
It's not going to work. Yeah.
It can't work. Nobody's dealing with it.
Then give me. I know you were going to bring something up. Give me the coach that you believe can handle this the best.
Well, I was going to say
Larinaga.
I think Jim Larinaga has done it better than anybody else. He told us the story. It was at the press conference today. On Friday or Thursday, for whatever it was. Everyone remembers what happened with Isaiah Wong, right? Nigel Pack gets the $400,000 bag from Life Wallet. Isaiah Wong's like, no. I'm going to the portal. Like, I'm not getting enough.
Yep.
And Wong called Larinaga.
Larinaga called
Wong and was basically like, hey, man, what's going on here? And Wong's like, nah, coach, we're good. We're negotiating. I got leverage. I'm using my leverage. And Larinaga's like, all right, cool. I'll see you at practice next week. Boom. Hung up the phone.
That's what
if
needs to happen.
If you can handle it like that and understand that now this is – I mean, look, let's call it what it is. This stuff happened before, RC. This stuff happened.
Ask RC. Ask RC. His NIL deal he had.
Yeah, what is
to play for. Let's say RC. RC.
I got study hall.
Yeah.
I got study hall. I got extra cheese on my hamburger.
Study Hall LLC. Study Hall LLC. That's where the checks came from. No, but to go back to the original question, I think one thing that we know right now. One thing that we know right now.
Study Hall LLC.
Study Hall LLC is where the checks
Was
cleared.
that yours too?
No, I wouldn't mind. Do you think they were going to pay me?
Yeah,
No.
I was gonna
Go on,
say,
exactly. Hey, so
everyone's surprised T.O. didn't have to pay them to get on the roster.
that's basically what happened. No, long story short, I think one of the things, and I feel like we come back to this time and time again, Bob Ritchie talks about the ceilings lowered and the floors lifted to where everybody's closer together. I think if you would have told me in 2016, like, where's the talent, where's the coaching, I would have said 70-30 talent to coaching. Now that every team has more talent and there's a wider talent pool, a wider talent base, I think it's closer to 55-45. Like, a coach really has to be on his P's and Q's and put his guys in position because there's more players now. You look at some of the traditional powers that they have floated on talent alone for a long time. They're not winning as many games right now, guys. It is hard to win when everybody has similar talent. That's the reason you see some of these guys in the NBA. It's cyclical, right? Because how the draft works and all those things. It's cyclical. Now, you have to be able to not only recruit at a high level, you have to coach at a high level because of the wider talent base and, be quite frank, more players that can be put in position to score.
I'm going to address everybody right now.
Dress them.
Because I was just thinking, listening to you say that, it's harder to win if you're the big guns.
If you're the big guns, right.
It's easier
look at our Final Four.
for an FAU.
I think it's harder to win.
Look at our Final
It's
Four.
harder to win no matter where you are. Winning is hard.
Winning is hard.
I think it's harder when you're the traditional, quote-unquote, blue bloods or whatever, because not every school. Like, for example, how many teams has a guy like Clingan coming in knowing that he was going to be a backup? How many freshmen commit to that? Like, name me a five-star guy that can go. That's a credit to Hurley and UConn. How many teams have that? And let's be honest, that's the difference. So can you do that? And can you sustain that? That's the difference. Yeah, getting a guy. How many five-star guys committing to a school where he knows not only is he not starting, He's getting 10 to 12 minutes a game. This guy could have gone at a million other schools
He
and
also
start
grew up wanting to go to
and
UConn.
play.
So,
And he
so
did. He did.
identifying that part too is also
So
a
is it
credit to
luck?
Hurley.
Is it just luck because he's a local kid, wanted to go to UConn?
A little bit,
'cause
yeah.
of his-
Yeah, a
you know,
little bit.
We'll see.
Yeah, but it's also you can't just go out and recruit to the rankings, right? I think Jay
No question.
Wright taught us about this better than anybody else, right? He makes the Final Four in 2009, and then what's he start doing? He realizes that he can get in the door with a lot more kids and a lot more talent. He starts recruiting players based off of where they are ranked as opposed to whether or not they fit a culture. And what happens? 2010, 2011, 2012, just not what Villanova is expected to be. And let's call it what it was. He was on the hot seat for a minute. There were people being like, I don't know if Jay Wright's the right
Which is
guy
crazy.
at
But
Villanova.
but he's also retired, Rob, because that changes. The formula of that has changed. So
Yes.
I agree with
And
you
then-
on that.
And then what he did was he started finding the Archidiakonos, he started finding the Colin Gillespie's, he started finding the Jermaine Samuels, he started finding the Eric Pascals, the guys that fit into the culture that he wanted and the identity he wanted this program to have. And then look what happened to it. To the moon, and now we're talking about him as a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. He could have been fired 10 years ago. Think about
But
that.
now,
That's
but
crazy.
now it's changed. It's evolved again. So it's evolving. The college basketball right now is evolving faster than some of the coaches are adjusting to it. They're being forced to, but more importantly, administrations.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Hey, if we're talking
it's,
to the
it's
right,
evolving a lot
should we
faster than they
should we
want.
call our guy Jimmy Schaefer up? We gotta get Schaefer on here, right?
Should we call Jimmy Schaefer?
We got to call.
Yeah, somebody get Jimmy
We got
Schaefer
to get him in on the phone. We got to zoom
All
him
right,
in.
we're
That
going to
is
do
my
that.
guy.
We'll take a break. We'll have an address to you, America, after these messages that you do not want to miss. San Diego State and Connecticut tomorrow night. Much more to come. Plus, how Lamont Butler became a hero last night in an ultimate redemption story. That's coming your way, too. This is the Field of 68 from McIntyre's on Commerce Street in Houston.
Today's episode of the Field of 68 After Dark is presented by our partners over at Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's Final Four games. And pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether it's points or rebounds or assists or all of them combined. If you're like me and you think Adama Sanogo is going to go nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, pick higher on his rebounds projection, maybe throw in a lower on Matt Bradley's scoring totals, a higher on Isaiah Wong, whatever it is that you like. Put them all together, and if you hit them all, then you can win as much as 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured out how to use it. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, that's FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100.
Back to the Field of 68 from the Final Four. We are presented by Bet Rivers. We are presented by Underdog Fantasy. We're coming to you from McIntyre's on Commerce Street in downtown Houston. John Fanta, Rob Dauster, Randolph Childress, Terrence Oglesby, Dagan Hughes, Trevor Valise are here, Carter Elliott, Greg Waddell. You'll be hearing from our whole crew throughout the day. We are back here as well if you're thinking about coming over to see us from 6 to 8 this evening, so come stop by.
Couple big guests.
Big guests.
Big guests. I can't see who it is yet.
Big
but
guess.
one of them might be Psycho Z.
I just saw him, by the way.
What's his name?
Psycho T.
Oh yeah, he might be here.
I just saw him over at
Might
the
be here.
Naismith. He's over there. A really cool Outstanding Achievement Award for Roy Williams. Outstanding contributor to basketball, Roy Williams, for the Naismith Trophy. I thought that was really cool and deserved.
So we welcome you back here, and thinking about the last 14 hours, what we watched last night is what makes college basketball the amazing sport that it is. That two programs, two universities, San Diego State and Florida Atlantic, could play in a football stadium where there's in and around 65, 70,000 people there, and can produce that moment, that magic of March in a game that FAU had. They were in control. There's two sides of the story here. There's two sides of the madness. The emotion for FAU to lose, the heartbreak of a season ending 35-4. Dusty May deserves a massive hat tip. And you hear from those players after the game, they want to come back and run this back. The resilience, the toughness, the fight of Brian Dutcher's San Diego State team. And in a game where the common fan probably started in the evening and said, yes, let's go out to dinner, or yeah, let's watch this show. I'd like to think that everybody by the game's end was looking at that game and understanding that, folks, there's no such thing as a bad Final Four. There's no such thing as a weak Final Four. That moment last night from Lamont Butler showed us the latest case of what makes the Final Four the amazing sporting event on the calendar that it is every single year.
Fans, so we had over 73,000 fans in there last night. Where's the bad numbers everybody was talking about where they were like, oh, people's not going to show up because it's not the typical Blue Buds. It was 73,000, and I didn't see an empty seat around when we were looking in there.
No. I'll tell you what, it's not
Did
just
the viewership numbers come out yet?
Not yet.
No, but I'll tell you the viewership numbers for Field of 68 were pretty damn good, so just leave it at that.
It's the best form of theater, T.O. The fact that we could produce that finish. What were you thinking? What'd you do when Lamont Butler hits that shot?
I was speechless, and I looked over to my right, and Rob Dauster and Kevin Sweeney were hugging, and I thought I saw a kiss on the cheek. I'm not sure for sure, but it got weird. Just kidding.
You
Just
kissed
kidding,
a kid
obviously.
from Home Alone?
No. In all seriousness, it was one of those storybook situations. Like you dream about that 15-footer, right? How many times have you shot the ball in your driveway, 3, 2, 1, fire, and it goes up and in? I mean, storybook ending.
Down one.
Down
Hold
one.
Down one.
Hold on. We need to talk about that. Because there was no 3, 2, 1 for Lamont Butler. It was dribble, dribble, dribble. Oh, shit, one and a half. Let me get this up.
Oh, shit, 2 seconds. Oh, I
It
better
looked like
shoot it.
somebody was like, he dribbled. They're like, shoot it. And he's like, oh, shit.
You want to talk about a game of inches? We're talking half an inch from stepping on that baseline and being out of bounds.
Credit to him, man.
Oh, man. Great shot. Credit to Dortch for not.
Great coaching as well.
Yeah,
Because
for not calling
There
the
was a
timeout.
dilemma to make because some coaches we've seen foul and play the clock and time.
Yes.
You could have fouled, and it was like, hey, do we come in, do we get a trap, then we foul? Either way, or what do we do? And their credit, their DNA, the team is built on defense. Like, hey, let's get a stop. We got plenty of time. Get a stop, push it. And they played to their strength, executed, and they won the game.
Brian Dutcher just at his press conference now said, I hope that this national stage, this big moment, helps our national perception. Do you think that?
For the sport or individual?
For San Diego State University, for
Oh
what
my
we
gosh,
think,
yes,
for how they
yes.
get talked about.
Yes. I don't
What's
know
this
how
mean
you.
for them?
I don't know how do you do not acknowledge what they've accomplished and what this means for them. For one, for the league.
Yeah, the league.
The league.
Exactly.
I think the league has been knocking on the door, kind of saying, "Hey, you're leaving us out. We're leaving out." And again, they got Boise State in. They got Utah State in. They're more than deserving of being in this tournament and played their asses off and showed that, hey, they had 5 bids in this year and that they're deserving that probably on a consistent basis right now.
Yeah, I talked to Leon Rice towards the end of the year, head coach at Boise State, and he's like, I feel like we could be the West Coast version of the Big East. We only really have one football team in the league that's worth a darn, and that's Boise State. Outside of that, it's a basketball league as well. To have them a season after going 0-4 in the tournament to start out, to have a team that goes all the way to the national championship game from that league solidifies the Mountain West as a quality. I'm not sure the right word is high major, but right below it, right below the Power Six. I would put Mountain West at 7 or 8.
If I had to compare college basketball right now, I'd say it's almost similar to like NFL in this aspect.
Yeah.
You get a roster from time to time from salary cap reasons, and this is the year.
That's
You got to
well said.
win it.
Yeah.
It's just because the following year you're not going to have the same team and the same guys. And honestly, that's and I say this with UConn, they're bringing in young guys. But how many teams, again, as I say, can bring in a guy like Clingan behind an elite player like Sonogo and have him play his role and play it at a high level?
How surprised were you at the first half last night? The way it was played, the style it was played at. I mean, watching that game, the amount of offense in the opening 20 minutes, And then some of the key shot making throughout. I mean, we didn't know if that would be the
For San
style.
Diego State, you mean?
Both sides. I mean, FAU. I didn't expect FAU to have ease with San Diego State's defense. They did.
They got anywhere they wanted whenever they wanted, and that's not what San Diego State does defensively. Like, they were able to put the ball on the floor and get in the lane. And San Diego State's entire defensive identity is basically built around, we're not letting you put the ball on the floor and get into the lane. And they did it.
Where it changed, though, they had to make the adjustment was they were playing in drop coverages to start. And when you do that with 4 guards, again, it reminds us of Miami. When you got 4 guards that can attack and get in the paint, they couldn't keep the ball out of the paint, which they had done all year long. Then all of a sudden they said, you know what, we got big physical guards as well. We're going to switch 5. And then once they did that, it's like, all right, you guys do the best you can of keeping the ball in front when you're that 5-man guard and that point guard, any one of their guards. They did that. But once they switched 5, I think that's what changed the flow of the game and got them back in control.
No, it was surprising. We were expecting an ugly game, and then looking up with 8 minutes to go in the first half, it was like 30-26 or something. It turned out to be a really aesthetically pleasing game, shockingly enough. And a lot of that was spearheaded by Matt Bradley, who we picked at, what was it, the higher? It was a higher and a lower. We all picked the higher for the reason being that he scored 8 points all last weekend. He comes in and has 9 points in the
By the first TV time out, he had that.
First TV time out, he had 9.
He hit the higher. So, Matt Bradley hit the higher like 5 minutes into the game.
I know. I mean,
we're sitting here celebrating. We got our underdog fantasy winning. Yeah, let's go, RC.
That's big time.
Just like he told us.
I did not hug Sweeney.
Okay, well, we have a source saying that you did.
Okay, the video.
No. He said kissed him.
There was a hug.
He said kissed.
There was
no kiss. There was a hug. There was a hug. It was like they grabbed each other.
By the way, the Home Alone reference for those thinking that Rob was kissing a kid. It was because Sweeney. It's because Sweeney is Buzz from Home Alone.
Buzz from
That's
Home Alone.
Why, folks.
Rob was not kissing a kid in press row. And it wasn't his kid.
No. All right, Terrence.
You made it weird, not me.
No, you made it weird.
You made it weird.
No, you made it weird. It really was.
Oh, no.
It really was. Yeah. So you didn't hug him, is the point.
No.
But you were.
There was
excited.
a casual grab and
I was very
hold.
excited.
There was a grab and hold.
I filmed the whole thing. I had my phone up like this.
Could you imagine
I'm
having
a media veteran.
Could you imagine having the FAU money line last night?
Oof.
Can I imagine it?
Oh.
Can I imagine it?
Oh yeah.
I
You lived it. You lived it.
I lived it. Look, it was worth it though.
Yes.
I was absolutely worth taking that loss.
That's priceless.
All right, now wait a minute. I got to ask this because this was a weird game. Did you have issue with the way the game was officiated?
Yes.
And therefore, how big is officiating tomorrow night?
I think it's massive. I mean, it always is because there's so many.
But in this matchup.
Yes, the officiating in college basketball can be incredibly inconsistent, right? There's going to be games where every time someone bumps a cutter, every time you put your hand on someone's hip, every time you hand check somebody, it's a call. Every time you try to set a screen, it's a call. And then there's going to be games where they just let you play rugby, like they did second half of San Diego Creighton, like they did the final 10 minutes last night. And if they call it tight tonight, and we get in a situation where there's foul trouble, where Andre Jackson is sitting out the first half, where you have a couple guys on, like Matt Bradley picks up 2 fouls. I just hope they let him play. Like, that's the thing that frustrates me more than anything else about college basketball is when you have your best players on the bench for 13 minutes in the first half because they picked up 2 fouls. I
thought there was a couple of calls, but I think overall, you find a tendency of when your teams lose, you tend to complain about the officials. I don't think it's been as bad. I don't think it's as bad. I mean, I thought the block last night was egregious at the rim. I thought Golden came over and got that, and that was a big play during the game. But that's one call that I thought was really bad. I don't think the other ones were. They were kind of like, you may not have liked them. Mm-hmm. It's no different than the Creighton game, where everybody's like, I wouldn't have called it, but it was a foul. There was a couple of times I thought it wasn't a foul, and then I watched the replay, and I was like, yeah, I thought he got him.
The guys, they're the best we're going to get. They're the best we're going to get, and for the most part, they're pretty good. My only issue is I thought with about 7 minutes to go in the game, San Diego State went they were one of their last 10, yet they cut the deficit by 8 points.
Exactly,
Like
Terrence.
that was.
It was a weird game.
It was a weird game, and the fact that FAU received a lot of calls up until that last 7-minute mark, and then it was just cut really quickly, despite them not being able to score on their own. That's where I kind of had the issue. But overall, I mean, I thought that San Diego State just outlasted FAU. That's what happened in this game. And Rob, to be honest with you, you said it's important how this championship game's officiated, and here's the thing about UConn. I don't think that it matters. Because if you call a lot of fouls, UConn just goes 8, 9, 10. If you call a lot of fouls for San Diego State, they just go 8, 9, 10.
I think both
I wanted
teams
to call
are that.
more fouls in order to clean it up a little bit.
I think both teams will go deep. Both teams, like San Diego State's going to play 9 guys as well.
Yeah, but
So
if
it's-
Sonogo gets
San
in
Diego
foul
State won a
trouble,
game last night with their 2 leading scorers sitting on the bench.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And they also won a game where their closer was their backup center. Their go-to guy
Amazing.
to make plays wasn't one of
Yeah.
their guards. It wasn't Bradley. It was
Ledee was
Ledee.
great. He was
Ledee was the
great.
guy down the stretch that played, and he only played, I think, 12 minutes or 14
Yes.
minutes.
he hit the shot.
And he was 12 and 6. He hit multiple buckets at the end of the game, coming out of timeouts that they had to get a basket.
They found the mismatch.
from hard places to hit the
mismatch
shots
a little
from, too.
He
Like,
made
that's his
plays on the
shot.
perimeter as well, and he's physically ready to step in and play this game. He's not at a physical mismatch tomorrow.
You had not 1, not 2, but 3 amazing shots in the final minute. San Diego State happened to hit 2 of them. Ledee's shot to cut the lead back to 1 was a very hard contested 13-footer.
Look, you know
oh
what?
my goodness.
It's not quite the same level as the shot that Marcus Page hit to tie the game
Martin,
in 2016. But Elijah Martin
Yeah.
going baseline,
Oof.
taking off
How
from the
good
other
was
side of
he?
the basket, coming under the rim,
Unbelievable.
and coming up on this and getting the English on it to make that layup, to put him up by 3 with 45 seconds left. Like, RC, please tell him how hard that shot was.
We were sitting there going, I almost hit T.O. next to me at one point when he did that
Yeah.
shot. I almost grabbed
You almost
him
did
and
it
pulled-
me?
I almost pulled to you.
Oh, RC, oh, shit.
Like, that seatbelt.
That's not what Rob does. Rob turns around and hugs the man beside him, just like he did Kevin Sweeney.
If there's a sequence in the game last night where I thought it completely flipped, but it was the free throw. They had 4 attempts in 1 possession. I mean, just off the free throw, they had 3 straight offensive rebounds off that. And if they're going to look back and say, when did the game shifted and where they felt like they could have gotten, it's just getting a rebound off a free throw blockout. And I know there's a lot of coaches out there that always talk about that. They hate losing a game off a free throw blockout. And I thought that was sequence there
It's huge.
was just massive in this game.
Hey, we got a break. We're live from McIntyre's on Commerce Street, downtown Houston. Come and see us. We're on here until 2 local time. Then we're on 6 to 8. We're presented by Bet Rivers. We're presented by Underdog Fantasy. Coming up next, I'll ask these guys a little something about the coaching carousel. We'll hit the transfer portal talk as well. And we'll continue to break down the matchup between the Huskies of Connecticut and the Aztecs of San Diego State. This is the Field of 68 from the Final Four. Now a word from our sponsors.
You guys ever get tired of trying to prove that you won an argument, that your takes weren't hot, they were just right? Well, I have an answer to all of your problems. Vaulted is a new sports prediction app that turns your opinions into facts. You can store all of your predictions and hot takes in your own vault now and forever. Challenge your friends, keep track of the results, and prove that you are, in fact, the smartest one in the room. Vaulted is also releasing a Final Four competition called their Last Four Pool. What amounts to a hot take challenge, it has a $5,000 prize pool. Who doesn't like free money? I like free money. So if you like free money like me, then go and download the Vaulted app at the link below, sign up for your free 3-month trial, and store your predictions now and forever.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 for the Final Four, everybody. We are live from McIntyre's here on Commerce Street. An amazing, amazing setup. We're presented by Bet Rivers. We're presented by Underdog Fantasy. Again, we're going to be with you here from 6 to 8. Come by, grab a bite. I got to tell you, we've done a lot of different shows from establishments, and Little Woodrow's was outstanding. Coming up here on this stage with the nice fans, it's very, very comfortable here. I feel like I'm on vacation up here.
This is great.
I feel like I'm about to perform a concert up here, man.
Yeah, this is
Can
great.
you sing?
No, in the shower.
What do you sing in the shower?
Elite shower singer.
Depends on the mood. Depends on what's going on after.
Wow!
Whoa! What's going on after the shower, RC?
Thank you.
Hey, man.
It depends what
Gotta
goes
talk to
on
the wife.
after.
Gotta talk to the wife.
RC was just like, oh, shit.
Hey, look, no.
I'm going to get my ass beat when I get home.
No. I got to text the wife and see, like, what we doing? You know, that changed the mood right there.
All right. Hey, let's. Jeez, you got something. You got.
RC's like, please change the subject.
Hey, no. Listen, I'm unapologetic about that.
subject.
I might do some R&B if not.
All right.
If she mad, it might be. If I'm mad at her, it might be something else.
Look, KC and JoJo came out of the wall.
She's mad at me. Yeah.
The remix to Ignition. RC's heading to the. Okay. All right. Let's get back to talking college basketball. Okay. What's that?
Did that just happen?
It did. We're having fun.
We're having a moment.
In the last hour, Michigan's Kobe Bufkin declaring for the NBA draft. Dickinson is transferring. I know Greg Waddell's going to get to this. Greg Waddell just took a shot.
Yeah, hey, somebody find him now. Get him off the roof.
Greg, are you okay? Oh,
Get him off the roof.
No.
Hey, Carter, keep your eye on him.
what will you remember about Kobe Bufkin?
The 23 career games in a Michigan uniform, he played 10 or less minutes.
He's blinking a lot.
Are you concerned about Michigan?
Are you concerned about Greg?
I'm more concerned about Greg than I am Michigan.
Is this concerning for Michigan? Your reaction to this news?
I don't think it's really all that surprising, to be honest. I think the bigger concern that I have is that Michigan had a team where they had potential first-round pick Jett Howard, potential first-round pick Kobe Bufkin, All-American center Hunter Dickinson, and they couldn't make the NCAA tournament. That's the bigger concern that I have. You got that much talent on your roster, you got to dance, RC. You got to dance.
The one thing I think people still, the Jalen Llewellyn injury, we just don't know the impact that had on this team. And I'm not just in the flow, late game situations and everything. We just don't know. He has an ability to make a perimeter shot. They could have used another guy on the floor to help space the floor to make shot. He's a really good distributor of basketball. He could have gotten in the paint to finish and created and made things a little bit easier for Hunter Dickinson. So I don't think we can take that for granted. I'm a big Dougie McDaniels fan, but he was a freshman and got thrown to the wolves and had to figure it out as the season went along. But one thing he's not is a shooter. He'll develop that part of his game, but the one thing that Hunter Dickinson could have used, and I think Michigan could have used, was another perimeter guy and a pretty good damn defender. And so I don't think we can ever underestimate the impact of losing Jalen Llewellyn.
I hear you. Trust me, I hear you. But at the same time, if you got two NBA players
Right.
and you got an All-American center, you got to make the tournament.
So
I don't think saying you got to make the NCAA. Don't lose to Western Michigan, right? Find a way not to get 30-piece by Arizona State, right?
Let me take your UConn Huskies. If I take Newton out of this team, or if I take Jackson off this team, does that affect them?
Well, yeah, but they
and
still
they're
make the
probably still gonna
NCAA
make the
tournament.
NCAA tournament.
Absolutely.
No. I'm not saying they don't.
They
I'm not saying they
absolutely make the
don't.
tournament.
I'm not saying they don't. But we don't know what would happen to them during that stretch when they struggled. When we thought the wheels was falling off this thing. Let's just say if one. I'll tell you what Jawan said about Jaden was the leader of that team. I don't know who the leader of UConn's team is. So let's just say for the sake of
It's
that.
Andre.
If it's okay.
It's Andre.
So let's take him out of it.
We did, and we saw what happened. What happened? They lost 6 out of 8.
But that's my point.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. So you're taking it, and he's out of there, and you lose 6 of 8. If he is not on this team, we saw a small sample size of that. So we can't sit here and tell me, oh, they're definitely in a different. And bullshit, they just lost 6 of 8 without him. So if you remove him for the year, that 6 of 8 goes to 8 or 10 or a little bit longer. They're not in the tournament. So that's the only I'm only making that comparison to say how significant injuries are, because you just said without Jackson in there, they struggle mightily without him. And if you take your leader out of a lineup, particularly the guy as a guard, you can't measure the amount of.
This is the only thing
yeah.
that I would say back to that is let's just say Andre Jackson was done for the year in the middle of December, and UConn, the 6 of 8 slide turned into 12 of 16.
They're not in the
and
tournament.
They don't make the NCAA tournament.
Right.
I'm still critical of Dan Hurley for having all that talent and not being able to find a way to get them to the dance.
I'm not absolving Juwan from the responsibility. Like no different than Hubert. I mean, T.O. and I talk about these things all the time. It's always the coach's fault. It's always the head coach's fault, no matter what.
They're getting paid
They're
money.
getting paid the money.
Yeah.
The buck stops with you. You have full autonomy to make all the decisions of what goes wrong and right. I'm just saying objectively, as far as when you start calling for a guy's job or making it, it's a thin line when your leader and your point guard gets injured on a team that now his backup, like they have Newton backing him up. He's not a true freshman.
Yep.
So if you had a freshman guard backing him up, it's fair to say this.
Well, let's go to UConn last year, right? UConn last year was a 5 seed. R.J. Cole was the point guard.
Yep.
Their backup was Jalen Gaffney, who's now the backup at Florida Atlantic.
Yes.
If he got injured and they had to go to Jalen Gaffney, UConn would have been in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
And I still would have said, like, you got to get that group to the tournament. And I
don't disagree with you guys on that.
But and
It's more
also
about-
just to be clear, like,
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
not calling for. I'm not saying fire Juwan Howard. That's Greg.
No,
right there
no,
to say.
no.
Yeah. I get
No,
What I'm saying is, like, you got to be better than that. And now you got this mark on the resume. You have another year like this, then we got to have a conversation. Does that make sense?
Oh, I get. I
Like,
understand.
Yeah. Greg is
My
in a bad
question,
spot.
my
right
question wasn't as much.
Greg's
we
in a
know
bad
you said
way.
it's not surprising. I would say this though, like now they've got some real roster management to do. Can it be done? Of course it can, but they've really the state of
wanna do
Michigan, the state of Michigan basketball heading into next year. They're not a top 25 team.
You don't know that.
We don't know what
Right
it's going to
now.
look like.
Right
Right now,
no,
there's
but-
no shot you'd put them in a way too early top
Well,
25. What do they have?
Here's the thing too, and I want to point this out
It
because
could be one, but not
sometimes we've been talking about, well, they have 2 draft picks and Hunter Dickinson. Well, let's keep in mind too, like that roster didn't fit each other very well. And I want to address the draft picks thing. Just because they're draft picks doesn't make them good college players.
And
The
just because
draft
the draft
picks are
picks, T.O., don't
potential-
make them perennial NBA guys either.
That's right.
Getting drafted at the 50th pick, yeah, you get drafted. It sounds good.
Yeah, it
And
sounds
you get a
good.
cup of coffee, and then what?
Yeah, sound good. But like, here's the thing,
I
like
could use a cup of coffee.
that roster didn't fit each other very well. And it could be something to where, like, Hunter Dickinson leaving, maybe Juwan could do something that he wanted to do with a more athletic 5 that can rim protect and get lobs. Like, we're going to be able to see the kind of roster that he puts together. They already added Namari Burnett from Alabama, who's a former McDonald's All-American that struggled to kind of get things rolling. You're going to see what kind of coach he is this offseason because there's not that centerpiece that Hunter Dickinson is. He doesn't have to build around one particular player. He can build around what he wants to do as a coach. And I don't know that that's for us to say, well, he should have made the tournament. He's got 2 NBA players. That doesn't mean they're good or great college players. Jett Howard could score. Did he do stuff that was conducive to winning? I would say no. Like, he would score 30, but defensively he
How
didn't
else
guard
did he
anybody.
impact the game?
Huh?
To your point, how else did he impact the
That's
game
right.
when he wasn't making shots?
That's right. And older players that have that experience, they were different. Like, did he do winning things? Not necessarily. So to say somebody has 2 or 3 NBA players doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win games.
Great point. You could be a great individual talent. Doesn't mean it's for the betterment of a team.
Yeah, and the NBA right now is potential over production anyway.
Always.
So I think people need to understand that portion too. Juwan, it's obvious he can coach the X's and O's. Roster management, after he inherited Beeline's roster, that's been a growing point. Not that he can't do it. He's had to build around Hunter, which is fine. But now we're going to see what he's able to come up with during this offseason where there's a lot of turnover.
Yeah, and to be clear, they absolutely could have a top 25 caliber team next year. But on Monday and Tuesday, when these way too early rankings, and we could talk about how much those mean and how little they mean. I get that. But I don't know how today you could sit there and say that they would be included in there, meaning Michigan, because honestly, this is significant news. I mean, Hunter Dickinson going in the transfer portal is massive, massive news for the college basketball landscape because you're talking about an All-American talent. When you think about possible landing spots, what pops in your head?
Well, first and foremost, I think that he is the single most accomplished transfer that we've ever seen in college basketball. I don't think there's ever been a transfer. He's a two-time All-American, a dude that put up the numbers that he's put up. I don't think we've ever seen someone as talented as him or as accomplished as him as a junior transfer. Now, places where I think that he'll thrive, I think that he would average 22 and 12 with Ed Cooley at Georgetown. Is that crazy to say? Ed Cooley loves having those big guys that can rebound, that can post up, that can get touches. If he can get Nate Watson to 16 and 6, I think he can get Hunter Dickinson to 22 and 12.
Yeah. If he doesn't go back to Michigan, I think Georgetown and Kansas would be two fits that I see that fit him, his style of play, that he can just slide in and seamlessly and play with guys and have a high production. His numbers wouldn't drop.
That was the other one that I was going to say. It's Kansas.
Traditional big man. You want the ball close to the bucket, he'll find you a way. Bill Self, I'm talking about, will find Hunter Dickinson a way. That one makes a lot of sense. And like you said, what Cooley was able to do with Nate Watson, who's nowhere near the same level of skill that Hunter Dickinson is. Not the passer, not the scorer, not the shooter. Still got 16 and 6. Nate Watson was a very good college player, not in the same boat as Hunter Dickinson.
And let's call it what it is. Hunter Dickinson is a DMV guy.
Yep.
right.
He has been very vocal about the fact that he is not a big fan of Maryland and the fact that he was not recruited by Mark Turgeon. I do not see him going to another Big Ten school. I do not see him going to Maryland, which is why Georgetown is one of those obvious places. Real quick, TORC, you guys have coached, you guys have played, you guys have been in the grassroots system, you understand how this works. He played for Takeover, Nike school. Played for Michigan, Jordan school. Transfers to Kansas, Adidas school. Does that work? Can that happen? Is that going to piss people off? Like talk to me about the dynamics and how the politics.
I don't think that matters at this point. I think the objective for him is he's thinking, how close can I get to winning and playing professional basketball? And I don't think it matters. I mean, playing something and being able to show he can play at the next level, it has to be it. But the other thing is how much is he going to get NIL? We're kidding ourselves if we don't think that that's just part of what this is.
Major bag.
And so when you get that bag, you don't care where it comes from. Nike, Adidas, Diodor, you name
Puma.
it. Puma. I don't care where it comes from.
Way of Wade.
The Benjamin Franklins don't have any. They don't come with a sponsorship of a Nike shoe with them. So I don't think that matters to him at all.
Payless shoe store?
Yeah, he doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter where it
Doesn't
comes
matter.
from. Where would you go if you were
The
him?
Benjamins don't have a Nike check.
Yeah, they don't have a Nike check.
Where would you go if you were Hunter
Don't have a
Dickinson? What
swoosh
would
on
you
it.
do?
I would take a hard look at Kansas. It depends on how much he wants to be closer to his family.
Yes,
That's a huge
exactly.
thing. And here's the thing: Hunter's going to make money no matter where Hunter goes. It might be $100,000, $200,000 difference. He's going to make a lot of money. It depends on how bad he wants to be closer to the DMV. Both make sense. He's going to have success at both spots in two really quality leagues. Those were the two I would wonder about. And he might even still go back to Michigan, as Aunt Randolph alluded to.
We're going to take a break. We're live with you from McIntyre's on Commerce Street in downtown Houston. Come and see us. We're presented by Bet Rivers, presented by Underdog Fantasy. This is the Field of 68 from the Final Four.
You know what the best part about the end of the college basketball season is? That signifies the start of spring, the start of summer, the start of hot weather, the start of late nights, the start of weekends on the water. And the best way to stay refreshed during the summer months is with Hornitos Ranch Water, a premium sparkling cocktail with a balance of freshly squeezed lime paired with smooth tequila notes. Hornitos Tequila is a 100% agave premium tequila from the lowlands of Jalisco. It's specifically from the town of Tequila. Originating from one of the most historic distilleries, Hornitos paved the way for all future tequila brands, starting with the tequila name. An official partner of the Houston Astros, you can buy Hornitos Ranch Water in a can, or you can come to Houston's best sports bar, Little Woodrow's in Edo, and get a fresh, handmade cocktail with Hornitos Tequila. There's nothing better on a warm spring day than Hornitos Ranch Water and a Houston Astros baseball game.
Welcome back to McIntyre's here in downtown Houston. This is the Field of 68 from the Final Four on a pleasant Sunday afternoon in H-Town. John Fanta, Rob Dauster, Randolph Childress, Terrence Oglesby, not to be confused with Terry Oglesby.
I'm not officiating the finals game. Terry Oglesby's on the call for the finals game, not me. Not me.
Do you think Dan Hurley knows you are
I don't think
different
so. I don't think he does. We're one and the same. He sees stripes and he goes blind.
You're right.
He's just ready to go.
Yeah. So, hey, we got some special guests coming up. We got Texas head coach Rodney Terry coming up here in our second hour. Let's continue to talk about roster movement and different college basketball storylines. So, we're actually going to have a special guest tomorrow night. I'll unveil this. It's Colin Gillespie and the Denver Nuggets are in town to play the Rockets on Tuesday. Gillespie, obviously, part of multiple Final Four runs at Villanova, so he will be here in Houston trying to get in the media space, which I'm excited for him, excited about. While he's playing for the Nuggets, he'll take a night in that space and be here at the National Championship tomorrow. So speaking of Gillespie, Villanova, out of all the storylines this week, the one that made me go, whoa, in the back of an Uber was Justin Moore putting on a video on a Friday night that, yep, I'm coming back.
I'm Friday night news dump right there.
That was a Friday night news dump from Justin Moore. When Justin Moore says, I'm coming back to Villanova, what did that say to you, and what does it mean for the Wildcats in year 2 of the Kyle Neptune era?
That was surprising to me. I don't know if you guys had heard the rumblings that I had heard.
Yep.
But I thought Justin Moore was gone. I thought he was going to enter the portal. I thought he was going to try to find a new place to play. I would have thought that he's another DMV guy.
He is.
I thought that he was going home, or thought there was at least a chance that he was going home. So when we got that alert that he was coming back to Villanova, I was pretty surprised. I also think it's enormous. It's huge for Kyle to be able to keep him around because we didn't get to see the full Justin Moore this year. We saw the full Justin Moore last year.
He's fantastic.
We saw the full Justin Moore 2 years ago. And when he is at his best, he's an All-American caliber player.
Oh, I think he's preseason player of the year right now.
In the Big East?
Oh, yeah.
Are you assuming?
I think he's that good.
Are you assuming Adama Sanogo's gone?
I don't care who comes back.
Oh, there you go.
I don't care who comes back.
You are just leaning all
That
the way
man's
in.
an
You're leaning all the way in. All the way in.
And listen, I'm only saying, I will give, let's just say we fast forward to 48 hours from now, Sanogo wins the national championship. Tell me something he's accomplished that Justin Moore hasn't.
Here's the thing too about Justin Moore. When did he come back, John? What date was it that he came back?
It was February.
Okay, so starting February 8th.
Yeah.
Villanova
Creighton.
went 6-2.
Right around then. Or Providence, end of January, Providence.
Yeah, end of January.
Very
so
end.
his first game back, they lost their first 3. After he got reacclimated to where he got comfortable, Villanova went 6-2. You don't think he's a difference maker? Now you get a full season of him being comfortable, getting back to his normal self after an Achilles injury. The guys, it was pretty brutal to watch. It's hard to disagree with Randolph at this point for him being preseason player of the year, barring Hunter Dickinson going to Georgetown. Like, who else would you put in that spot right away unless Adama comes back? Crap, the Big East is good next year. Gosh, what a league. It's going to be really, really good.
Bryce Hopkins.
Not for player of the year.
Yeah.
First team, not player of the year.
And we'll see how the portal shakes out. But
Yeah, I love how we're doing
I'm
all
happy
these,
for Kyle Neptune.
We're doing all of these predictions right now, and none of them are going to matter.
Yeah, I'm happy
of
for
them
Kyle,
will.
though. That's a lot about Kyle as far as rebounding for Villanova, getting him back, getting a guy like Justin Moore, who would have been as impactful, of right up there with Hunter Dickinson type of impact transfer if had he been in the portal when he didn't go in. So credit to him. Congratulations to Kyle.
I mean, he needed it.
Oh, my gosh, he needed it, yes.
Because you look at what else is on that roster.
Yes.
I mean, Mark Armstrong comes back. I think he's actually going to be pretty good next year, right? Mark Armstrong is a sophomore, will be really good. Jordan Longino is going to end up being a really good defensive player, but they lose a lot of their guys.
Yeah, they do. They lose a lot of their guys that have meant a lot to that roster. I mean, they're
Does
in
Dixon have another year?
He does have another year.
I think he has a year,
He has
right?
another year. He has another year, but you know,
I think
it's
a guy like that's the key, though, for them.
Yeah, he
the
does
hardest
a lot
thing
for
is
them.
finding a guy like that big, that Jenkins-type big, that spreads the floor, that defends the 5. They're just going to slide. Finding a 6'5", 6'6" wing in the portal is a hell of a lot easier for them than to finding a guy to replace
said.
Eric Dixon or Jenkins.
It's so true. And Dixon, Eric Dixon is one of the most underrated players in college
Absolutely.
basketball. That kid is he's a truck. He's a Tonka truck inside. I mean, he takes people down. His physicality is special. He rebounds the basketball at an elite level. The point is here, and I want to tee you guys up on this, like they are set up to be a factor in the Big East, and yet they're probably going to be picked 5th or 6th in the Big East.
Depends
which
on
is
the portal.
insane. It depends on the portal, but they're still, even if they portal great, they'll probably be picked 3rd or 4th. They're not going to be picked 1st or 2nd in the Big East.
Outside of UConn, and then who?
Well,
Off next year's roster.
Marquette brings everyone back. And they won the Big East regular season and tournament. The coaches are not going to vote them any lower than 2.
True.
UConn.
UConn.
I'm not saying UConn. UConn will start. They'll be.
What about
favored.
Creighton? We don't know exactly who they're going
We
to
don't
have
know what
back.
they're
We're
gonna have
waiting to hear.
Yeah.
They're an intriguing team here now because at their best, they're probably top 5.
Xavier.
Well, Xavier, we don't know what they have.
We don't know what they
Yeah,
have.
but Sean's going
What's
to get
the-
somebody now.
the
Sean's
best-
going to get somebody.
The best conference in college basketball next season will be
It's too early
Big
to tell.
East.
The most storylines in the Big East right now.
Right
it's
now, the
impossible
best
to know.
stories of the Big East with the coaching, let alone.
It's going to be the best conference in the country too. It's not going to be the toughest because they're going to have those teams at the bottom of the league that don't look as good. Butler, DePaul, whatever.
But right now, you're still going to have to go. You're still going to have the same conversation with the Big 12.
Yeah, but here's the thing in the Big 12 is you're not. We talked about this the other day. You're not getting that double round robin anymore.
No, you're not. You're not. You're not. But scheduling gives you the advantage in the
you are getting Houston. Oh, Jesus.
the Big East.
Yeah,
now, if you
yeah.
take now,
You're right,
if you-
I forgot about Houston
now
for
if
a
you
second.
take Houston's team from this year and you added that into the Big 12, it's just one more team.
And
do we get a Big
BYU
12
ain't bad.
Do we get a Big
Yeah,
12
but-
Big East challenge again this year?
Yeah. Yes, that gets incorporated.
Oh, buddy, buckle
Big 12
up.
Big East Challenge in the,
Buckle
and
up.
the last year of the Gavitt games as
And
well,
that
from what we
matters.
know, I think.
That's going to matter.
Yeah, the Big East, Big 12?
Yeah, it matters.
Oh, that's going to matter. I heard one matchup and I was salivating.
All right, so don't tell us, don't break any news here. But if you guys, TLRC, I want you both on this. The one matchup next year, Big 12, Big East Challenge.
Who should play who?
Who do you want? You go first. Who do you want? What do you want?
I want UConn and Kansas,
Okay, that'd be really good.
and and then the other one would be.
I got a better one than that.
Go ahead.
What do you want?
It's a tough one. There's so many good teams in
Oh
both
my
leagues.
gosh!
I got one.
Texas,
I got one.
Can I
Texas
give you
great
mine?
would be
No.
good.
Texas Marquette.
Texas Marquette would be great.
Texas.
Yeah,
The
that was
Shaka
gonna be
revenge game.
Texas. That's
Shaka's
gonna be my second
revenge.
one.
He's coming back, baby. You better watch out.
That would be spicy. That would be wild.
That's
They
one
go
of those
from,
ones
a,
you
Rick,
got
they
to
go
make
from a
happen.
Rick Barnes Bowl to a
You got to make it happen, right?
Yeah, they're gonna do
Rick
it.
Barnes Bowl this year when Texas played Tennessee. Then you have the Shaka Bowl next year.
Yep.
The Shaka Bowl.
Man, that challenge is going to be nasty.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking of who I want Patino to host at the Garden.
Doesn't the Shaka Bowl sound like a fast food menu item?
It does. It does.
The Shaka Bowl.
The Shaka Bowl.
It's like a poke bowl.
The Shaka Bowl is like a poke bowl, except it gets carded when it walks into a bar.
How about that? How about Shaka getting carded? That was great.
That was wild.
T.O. hasn't been carded at a bar since he was 21.
They haven't
When
carded me in a
if-
long
When he,
time.
if-
when he first had to,
Yep.
bring it on home.
Gives it away.
We're going to bring it on home for hour number one. We're at McIntyre's on Commerce Street. I have to tell you, folks, the vibes in here are fantastic. The smells in here. I mean, I don't know if somebody's grilling a burger or what, but
So,
it smells.
they have
T.O.
a-
turned to me at one point and goes,
Dana,
it smells
Dana,
so good
there
in
is
here.
a food
It's a food truck right
there. Right below it, there's a food truck. On the other side
trying to
below
see
us,
what
they
it
have
had.
garbage can beer pong. Okay? Back over there, you can probably see it in the back. They have cornhole and they have ping pong. Right down over there, they got a foosball table.
Really cool spot.
We got every single possible drink. You can see the Connect Fours right there. Look
I'm taking-
look over Carter Elliott's head.
I like my chances.
Look
there.
over Carter Elliott's head.
This place is fun. I want to see Goodman toss a cornhole bag.
Hey, there's also Papa Shot upstairs
Is there
if
Papa
T.O.
Shot?
wants to run it back.
Ooh, you want to run it back?
I'm not running
in third
anything back.
place.
She wants
I'm
to
not
run it
running
back.
anything
Third place.
Here's the thing: when you guys actually want to get on a real court and play, we can do that.
What do you say?
I'm done
When you
playing.
wanna
I'm
get on
done.
real court and
Hey,
play.
I'm
Let's
done
do it.
playing.
Also, I said I could beat anybody in this bar at cornhole
this is
too,
T.O.
by
right
the
now.
way.
This is T.O. right now. Ducking the smoke.
There's no smoke. There's no smoke. I don't
You
want to
literally
play.
just said in a
Playing
promo
children's
video.
games with children. I'm not
We
playing children's
literally
games.
just
You guys
posted
want to go play a real hoop? We can set that up. I'll beat you in the shoes I got on right now.
Hey, T.O.
Shoes I got on right now.
T.O. You and I,
I'm not
true or
playing Papa
false,
Shot.
true or false, have we had a shooting contest on an actual hoop?
Dude, here's the thing.
Did we have a shooting
you shot
contest?
one time. It was like, no, you got to make it. No, you got to
Who
make
won?
it.
Who won?
I didn't make the shot.
Who
you
won?
made one, and he's like, I got you.
Who won the shooting contest?
All right.
Is that a contest or is that a one-off?
Who won?
That's a one-off.
Who won?
Okay, Dauster, I'll tell you what. You won.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, if
That's all
anybody
I
wants to
wanted.
smoke in cornhole, they'll
That's
let me
all I
know.
wanted.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, who's the worst cornhole bag tosser in this group?
I can say confidently I'm the best.
I bet you are.
There's no way
Nathan
RC's
is very
good at it.
I bet you are.
There's no way RC's good at cornhole.
I'm not
I'm
a bragger.
sure
Fancy,
RC in
fancy,
July.
I'm not a bragger.
RC
as you know,
backyard.
you know?
No, I want to see Goodman toss the cornhole bag and nail somebody.
Oh my God.
50
He
cents.
would lose.
per
He would
pitch.
lose. He would lose the
He's gonna
corn.
put
back.
somebody's
He
eye
would
out.
lose it. He would lose it on the way back like a bowler.
That doesn't count as a toss.
It would go backwards.
Hey, true story on
Or he'd
Goodman.
hold it too long.
I got a true story on Goodman real quick. So when we did our Field of 12 national championship
Yeah.
show at Indianapolis, we went to this place that has something called foaling. And what foaling is it's bowling, but instead of having a bowling ball, you have a football and you throw you throw the football at the bowling ball pins and you got to knock them all down. It's basically beer pong, but with a football and bowling pins, okay?
Okay, this
Kinda makes
probably
sense?
didn't end well.
And we're literally, it's me, him, and 4 former NFL quarterbacks who are just fucking firing that thing. And he gets up, and the whole time, mind you, he has told these guys, yeah, when I was in high school, I could throw a football 60 yards. Like, I have a good arm. You know? Like, I was.
He said he could
I
throw a
was
football
doing-
60 yards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said
He
he could
said
throw-
he could throw a
Yeah.
football.
He said,
in his
yeah.
prime.
I don't want to
prime.
know if Goodman
In
can
his
throw a
prime.
football. I want to know if he can run 60 yards.
No, he can't do that either. So he takes it out, and his first throw, it's like this noodle arm, and all these other guys are like trying to hide their laughter, and they're like, "This motherfucker can't throw a football 60 yards. What is it? He can't throw one 6 yards.
No,
With a little noodle arm." Dagan was there. You can
60
Dagan-
yards
yeah,
is a
wasn't
long way. In
Wasn't
all
good.
seriousness, 60 yards is a long.
Yeah, I know.
That's a long throw.
Like,
I
it's
don't think
impressive for,
can't. I can't throw a football 60 yards.
Most quarterbacks.
40?
40, yeah. But I don't know how far I can throw a football. Not 60. That's a long way. RC.
60
You're over
yards
there
is a
looking real
long
confident
way.
right now. How far?
Oh, I could.
You can throw
Oh, yeah,
60
you could.
yards.
Football was my first sport.
Hold up.
I go out and catch it.
We got to see this.
I was
We can
all
go get you-
state.
we can
I
go
was
get
a
one.
nasty tight end in recess in
This is
fifth
3
grade.
shoulder surgeries now.
All right, fair
okay.
enough.
Totally different now.
6 yards.
Now we got.
I have people that can vouch for me on that. I don't have to worry about that.
All right, we'll be back with more here in an hour or two. We'll take a quick time out. We're from McIntyre's, live from McIntyre's, Commerce Street. Come visit us. We're also on 6 to 8 tonight. Come have a beer. If you want to talk UConn basketball, you've got just the right guy to find. If you want to go with these guys, they're here too. This is the Field of 68. We're presented by Bet Rivers Underdog Fantasy. Stick with us for hour number 2. Up next.
Are you a college basketball junkie? Are you the kind of fan that gets frustrated that this beautiful sport has such a lack of national coverage outside of the month of March? Well, let me tell you about the Field of 68, an all-encompassing digital network of podcasts, live streams, and newsletters that cover the sport at every level on every platform. From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors, the only way to keep up with college basketball is through the Field of 68.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 afternoon. We're not after dark. It is daylight outside. It's 1 o'clock. We are here at McIntyre's 901 Commerce Street in Houston, Texas. We're presented by our partners at Bet Rivers. We're presented by Underdog Fantasy, Randolph Childress, Terrence Oglesby. My name's Rob Dauster, and we have a special guest right now, Rodney Terry, the new head coach of the Texas Longhorns. Has it set in yet? Has it hit you yet? The new head coach at the University of Texas.
Slowly but surely it is, Rob, especially with, trying to put a roster together, obviously put our staff back together, and, we're off and running right now.
I'm gonna get out of the way. I'm gonna let RC over here take his victory lap because I know he's been waiting, man. RT, you don't even know. He's been waiting.
I've been screaming to the top of my lungs that this should have been done. Everyone here knows. Anyone watching, they all know. First of all, congratulations.
Thanks, Randolph.
But I almost said, man, I need 1%. I'm gonna settle for some tickets to some games. So I'm gonna call you.
Anytime.
That's all I need. That's all I need here. I'm good now. But congratulations, well deserved. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but I know a lot of us were just advocating that this should have happened. Glad it did, regardless of when it finally did. But credit to you and your guys.
Randolph, thank you so much, man. So blessed. You and I have great history.
Yeah.
One of my mentors and family to me. I know it's really close to you and Jerry Wainwright, and a lot of respect for you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Coach, after what transpired earlier this basketball season, it's obvious your players love you. Your ability to grab them and bring them all together, right, for the duration of the season and for a deep tournament run, what was the key to what you were doing there with all of your players and really your staff, too, as much as there was up in the air?
I think the biggest thing, I just tried to stay to be myself. I think if you try to come in and you try to be Coach Beard, you try to be something that you're not, guys are not going to buy into that. They're going to buy into who you are and obviously trying to stay the course of what we set out to do at the very beginning of the season. And, we were able to do that.
Marcus Carr, to me, was the guy that kind of changed what you guys were this season, right? He came into the program with a little bit of a reputation for being like an inefficient scorer when he was at Minnesota. A lot of that had to do with what he was asked to do in that role. His first year at Texas, he's not quite the guy that we all thought he was going to be when he committed. This year, I mean, he's All-American, averages 17-4. You guys are a 2 seed. You make the Elite 8. How did he make that leap? How did you get the best out of him?
Well, Marcus Carr is one of those guys that's a no-excuse guy. A year ago he came in and, he had a ton of responsibility in terms of handling basketball, initiating offense, and scoring. This year we had Tyrese Hunter to the roster. Timmy Allen obviously can be a guy that facilitates as well, but you had another ball handler, and now we can free him up and let him go do what he does best, and that's score the basketball and play out there with the free mind, and a lot like he did toward the latter part of the season for us last year. We still going to hold him accountable to guarding really hard on the defensive end of the floor, but I think we just let him loose a little bit. He still had some ball handling responsibilities and decision-making responsibilities, but not as much. He had to, really shoulder the burden of that his first year and really didn't have any other ball handlers outside of him and score and defend. So, this year was a really good breakout for him in terms of just go do what you do best, man. And I thought he did it at a very high level.
So you mentioned you got to rebuild a roster, right? Do you have enough time to sit here and spend like a full segment with us? Do you want to take out your phone and refresh the portal while you're waiting, or?
Well, that's 24/7, Rod, this day and time, But I think more importantly, too, though, it's about the right fits. There are a lot of kids in the portal, and I think you have to do your due diligence in who fits what you're trying to do from a culture standpoint, from a style of play standpoint. But, I've got a great staff around me. We'll do a great job picking the right pieces that fit for us as a team.
Rodney, one of the reasons I advocated, I thought you did a tremendous job. I can tell by the reaction of the players that you were the guy. If anyone ever questioned it, you can tell after you guys won the Big 12 championship and just the way they seem to celebrate you. I mean, taking over under those circumstances, how difficult was it from that point to the Big 12 championship? Take us through that journey and what was that like?
Well, Randolph, when I took the job, under the pretense that I was going to be a co-head coach. And so, I was already in front of the guys coaching the defense and in charge of the defense. Chris did the offense. And so the guys were used to hearing my voice and hold them accountable. But now it's going to be for the whole totality of everything you're doing, offense and defense. But, I think the thing I said to our guys was just try to control what you can control. Every day, let's try to come in. let's have a great attitude, great approach, and let's work this thing. Let's continue to try to get better every day at the things we want to get better at, and let's be completely bought in. I'm bought in, and a lot of times guys buy in when you're fully vested with them, and I think there were times that I jumped in a couple drills and did things with guys, and it makes them feel like, hey, man, we're all in this together, man. Let's go get this done. It's us against everybody else. No one else thinks we can do this. We know we're very capable of doing it. We have the team to do it, and there was really no looking back once we were all bought into what we were trying to get done. I thought we had a team that could win the whole thing.
That's the only. I agree, and the only thing I'm upset with you about because you messed my bracket up. I was expecting y'all to be here.
Yes, no, we fully thought we should
right
be here,
there.
And
you guys are right.
You got to be to finish it, and again, we had a next man mentality the whole time, and not having to sue in that last ball game was big for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was playing extremely well for us, but our guys played well throughout the better part of the season.
RT, I said this to Rob and Randolph earlier this year. I just feel like you fit Texas. Like you're always dressed sharp. You got the glasses. The suits are immaculate. All of that being said, you work with Chris for a while. You inherit his roster. How do you move forward and put your own personal brand on a Texas brand, quite frankly, that has had success, but it's a new time. It's RT's time. What are we going to see that's some of the similarities with Chris Beard? What are some of the things that we're going to see different with Rodney Terry?
Chris is a great coach, and again, someone I respected for over 20 years in the business, but again, Chris didn't put this roster together by himself. We put this roster
Tell
together.
him again, RT. Tell him again.
Hey, I recruited 3 starters.
Tell
on
him
this
again
team.
now.
I'm not one to pat myself on the back, but heck, we got in the trenches.
There you go. You ain't got to do that. Don't disrespect you either now. Don't dare disrespect you either now. They ain't do that by himself.
We put this roster together, man. I recruited 3 starters on this roster here, so let's don't get it twisted. But no, hey, you know what? It's a team effort. It's always a team effort, in terms of putting a roster together. I've been at Texas basketball, when we've had the highest of highs. I mean, you could go back to the best 5 seasons in Texas basketball, and I've been a part of them. The entire time. So I know the landscape. I know what it takes to be successful at this university. And, we're going to roll our sleeves up and get after it. We're going to try to get the best guys, not only in the state of Texas, but also around the country and, internationally to come in and represent the university the right way, both on and off the court. But it'll be a group, it'll be a team effort in terms of putting a really good roster together. But, we're here for no other reason to try to win a national championship.
Do you like the timing of the portal? Like the thing that makes me so frustrated with the way that this works is like the day after Selection Sunday, when everything in the sport is supposed to be the celebration of we finally got the bracket and it's the best sporting event that we're going to get. And you got to start, instead of just worrying about who you're playing, like how are we going to deal with Colgate? How are we going to deal with Penn State in the second round? You got to sit there and you got to start hitting kids in the portal. Like, do we need to change that time frame of that schedule?
No, Rob, I do think there's room for change with that. I mean, you're penalizing teams that's had great seasons, and obviously when you have Selection Sunday and you start preparing for postseason play, your total focus is not on the portal. Your focus is trying to advance and finish, and continue to move in the postseason play. So you're not really concerned day to day. I mean,
were you guys recruiting players?
I mean, we got guys on our staff. You have to have a database in terms of being able to keep track of what's going on. You can't completely just say, hey, we're doing just straight basketball. You have to, have a lifeblood to what you're doing in terms of recruiting. But we're trying to prepare for opponents at a very high level that's all had really good seasons. Your focus better be on your business at hand. Otherwise, you're gonna have a quick exit. But no, I think there's room for that to change and possibly move back a week or two, and then you have plenty of time to go in and address your needs in terms of guys you can go in and recruit in the portal.
Last one.
Go ahead. I got one more.
If we got a basketball coach's GQ magazine, who's on the cover, you or Jay Wright?
Oh, Jay Wright's the best. That's not even close. He's the best ever.
But you get like a little thing in the corner?
I'm way down at the bottom. Jay Wright by far is immaculate. I mean, that guy not only was a great dresser, but was an incredible coach and a great person.
Yeah, of course.
All right, last one for you. We had Bob Huggins on, I don't even know, what, Thursday night? Something?
They're running together now.
Too many shows. We had him on at some point this week. And what he said, we asked him about the new teams coming into the Big 12. He goes, I feel sorry for those guys. They have no idea what they're getting into with this conference. You coached in the Big 12 all year.
What are they getting into with this league?
Well, you do have some other great coaches coming into the league. Kevin Sampson, what he's been able to do.
Hey, it was already the best league in the country. Now let's just bring Kellen Sampson.
We're bringing
in, right?
Houston in. You know what they bring to the table in terms of their culture and the level that they've won has been very high, and a lot of respect for Coach Sampson and all the other coaches coming to the league as well. But, you know, this year, I mean, I've been a part of the Big 12 for 13 years, and this is probably the most competitive from top to bottom, hands down, in the Big 12. There were no nights off. You got incredible coaches in the league. You got great talent. So, you know, Big 12, man, it's a monster.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, Rodney, congratulations again on a great season. Congratulations on getting the job. I want to say congratulations to RC for getting you the job. He probably had no impact. He's going to take
I just want tickets. I don't want the money. I just want
the tickets. I got the tickets. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good on the tickets.
Look, when you go to those games, it's fun.
I'm actually going to come down in the fall, but when practice and stuff starts, when you get going.
Randolph, you're welcome anytime, buddy.
Hey, RC, they got like the back, instead of just having like a wall of seats, they got a bar up there for all the students.
That's all I need.
Yeah, we know. You got some Jim Beam. You got some Hornitos tequila. You can get yourself a ranch water. Do they have ranch water in Austin?
I believe we can find
It's
some
probably
ranch
made
water.
with Tito's,
No doubt. We can
Yeah,
find some. No
we'll
doubt.
find it.
It's probably
That's
made
good
with
recruiting
Tito's.
right there, right?
Hey,
Don't say no. Say we'll make it work.
We'll make it work. No doubt about it.
There you go. Listen, Rodney Terry, head coach of the Texas Longhorns. Coming up next, we're going to have Greg Waddell on here, and we're going to watch him squirm as we talk about what's going wrong with his Michigan Wolverines. Today's episode of the Field of 68 After Dark is presented by our partners over at Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's Final Four games. And pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether it's points or rebounds or assists or all of them combined. If you're like me and you think Adama Sanogo is going to go nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, pick higher on his rebounds projection, maybe throw in a lower on Matt Bradley's scoring totals, a higher on Isaiah Wong, whatever it is that you like. Put them all together, and if you hit them all, then you can win as much as 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured out how to use it. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, that's FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. You guys ever get tired of trying to prove that you won an argument, that your takes weren't hot, they were just right? Well, I have an answer to all of your problems. Vaulted is a new sports prediction app that turns your opinions into facts. You can store all of your predictions and hot takes in your own vault now and forever. Challenge your friends, keep track of the results, and prove that you are, in fact, the smartest one in the room. Vaulted is also releasing a Final Four competition called their Last Four Pool. What amounts to a hot take challenge, it has a $5,000 prize pool. Who doesn't like free money? I like free money. So if you like free money like me, then go and download the Vaulted app at the link below. Sign up for your free 3-month trial and store your predictions now and forever.
It's the Field of 68 live from the Final Four. We are here at lovely McIntyre's in downtown Houston, Texas. Randolph Childress, Rob Dauster, Carter Elliott. My name is Greg Waddell. Gentlemen, what a day. What a day. Rodney Terry from Texas was here. We're going to have plenty of other special guests rolling through the show throughout the rest of the afternoon. We've got about 30 minutes left in our show right now. We're doing 2 hours again later tonight, 5 p.m. Central Time? 7 p.m. Central Time?
Greg, I'm going to have to stop you. I'm throwing a curveball.
Oh,
you guys
God.
ready for this?
Oh, God.
Throwing a curveball.
Throwing a curveball.
Me throwing a curveball. Okay. In about an hour, we have the women's national title game. Every one of you knows who Caitlin Clark is, because everybody knows who Caitlin Clark is. She's a legend. Underdog Fantasy, I'm up. We made some money last night on Underdog, Carter. We made some money last night, okay?
Have
So
you
if
had
use-
any losses in the last 48 hours?
I don't
He's
lose.
on fire.
I don't
He's on
lose.
fire right now.
I don't lose.
He's on fire
I don't
right
lose. Actually, my one loss is that this beer is empty right now. But
That's a loss.
Yeah,
that's a
the
loss.
Imagine having an empty drink. Could not be.
Underdog Fantasy promo code FIELD gets you a 100% deposit match up to $100 with your first deposit. I made money last night taking a higher on Matt Bradley point totals. Caitlin Clark, they're playing LSU, okay? The game tips off at about 2:30, I think. I can't get my time zone straight. Her numbers, 33.5 points, 6.5 boards, 8.5 assists, 5 3-pointers made, and 47.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. That's insane.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane.
It's
that those are the numbers
ridiculous.
that
Seems
she's
like
a
at.
steal, honestly. That seems
Two, would you dare take any of those lowers, Carter?
No.
Not a chance.
That's how bad it is.
Not a chance.
As insane as those numbers are, I'm still taking the over.
I think it's a little bit low, to be honest with you. That seems like a steal.
Can I ask you this? Because we were actually debating this during the Final Four game the other night at dinner. Who's the male player that you would compare her game to? Because I've heard Curry comps. I've heard Trae Young comps. I've heard Luka Doncic comps. Like, she has such a control over every element of her team's performance.
She shoots it better than
It's insane.
Luka, so.
But I think the style that she plays is a little bit more Luka than Trae Young. Because I think Trae Young Trae Young's not a winning basketball player, okay? Caitlin Clark's in the national title game. Trae Young averaged 30 and 10. He got knocked out in the first round by Rhode Island.
Fats Russell was tough. I'm just saying. He was.
I forgot that Trae Young played against Fats Russell. That's wild
He was tough.
how long these dudes last in college basketball. Anyway, Trae Young is not a winning basketball player. She's in the national title game, okay? Luka Doncic, to me, that's him, right? I don't think it's quite Steph Curry, but, they shoot from the same, I don't know. What do you think? Because she's a better passer than Steph is.
I don't know if I'd say that. She's better. I think Steph's a hell of a passer as well. I just don't think he plays your traditional point guard. But I don't like the comps of guys like that. I mean, he's an all-timer, but she's damn good, man. I don't know.
She's
if she
an
has one.
all-timer, too. Look at the numbers she's putting up, man.
There's a difference between college all-timers and
That's all I'm saying.
Steph Curry,
I'm not going to compare a college athlete to
basketball.
Steph Curry. Is all I'm saying, male or female. That's all I mean.
That's why it comes back to the.
So I
Trae
don't
Young.
know if there is a comparison to her. Is what I'm saying. Collegiately.
That's why it comes
I
back
don't
to Trae
know
Young
if
for me,
I've seen anybody collegiately play like her,
Right.
like men or women.
Following her is going to be they're going to compare players like her to Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
She
Yes.
set
Yes.
the standard
Yes.
at college for
Numbers-wise, it
players
was
like
Trae, though.
Yes, numbers-wise, it's Trae.
But you can make the argument, and I wouldn't argue
games.
against you if you was to say the way she's playing right now, we haven't seen anybody in a college game, man or female, play that way, male or female.
You know who she is? Marquise Noel, baby.
Oh,
She's who?
Marquise Noel.
All right.
Come on. That's
Marquise
so
Noel. Well, that's
No,
actually.
I'm not
that's actually
disrespecting her like
that's
that.
actually just a tease to say that Jerome Tang's on the way. We're gonna have Jerome Tang on here later.
The Naismith's Coach of the Year, newly named.
So Caitlin Clark, you're taking higher on 33.5 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm taking higher on everything.
She's going to give herself a chance. I'll tell you
It's
right
a
now.
national-
She's going to have enough attempts to reach
it's
that.
a national title game.
She's going
It's
to sell
Caitlin
out.
Clark. She's gonna go for it. And she's gonna put up those numbers. She's gonna win. She's a
the
gamer.
most fun way to.
She's a gamer.
The most fun way to place that, whatever it's called, with Underdog Fantasy,
Fantasy.
is the points plus rebounds plus assists.
Yes.
Everything.
Just throw it all on. So there you go. Underdog Fantasy promo code FIELD gets you a 100% deposit match up to $100. Some of us don't have to put that deposit in right now, guys. I'm just telling you. Some of us don't have to do that because we won last night. Shout out to Matt
Did
Bradley.
you just mention that like 5 seconds ago?
I did. Shout out to
Hey,
Adama
you know how
Sanogo.
you were throwing a curveball at us like 5 minutes ago?
Yes.
Can I throw a curveball at you?
I love curveballs.
Will you hold this microphone for me real quick?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Go Aztecs, baby. Listen, you've had too much fun. You've had too much success in the last 48 hours.
Talk to him.
It's driving me insane. The fake humility, the fake head down, one more. We haven't done shit yet.
Playing it off.
It's all planted.
Playing
it's
it
all
off. Well,
fake.
we're going to blow it in the second half.
It's manufactured
They
and
almost
it's
did.
bullshit. So I'm here to say this, Rob Dauster. The team that I have bet against every single game in this tournament, the team I have criticized the most is the San Diego State Aztecs. Go Aztecs, baby. They are the only thing that stands in your way, and that makes them a friend of me, Rob Dauster.
This is actually perfect. You know why? I think you may have just locked in a UConn win. You know why? Nobody has taken more L's on this trip than you.
It's true.
Hunter Dickinson,
Very elite point.
Kobe Bufkin.
Hey, you might as well. He's pushing his chips to the table now.
Yeah.
And
You're-
guess what?
You're going all in.
He may be the one guy right now. Some of these UConn fans hate more than me. Up until last night.
No, they loved it. They loved it. They loved it. It's the San Diego State fans that are mad at him right now. They're like, we don't want this loser associated with
Yeah,
it.
the Aztecs got pushed you away.
Normally, the only guy that we associate with being a mega loser is your partner in crime over there, Carter Elliott.
Okay. Adversity makes us stronger, okay? Blue Collar Podcast.
He's like, what the fuck?
My father taught me to never take anything from anyone who dresses like Rob Dauster. I let that be known right now. But I'm happy for you.
That was a good move.
No,
that's a nice jersey, though.
Do not dap him
That looks
up
good.
either.
Kawhi Leonard.
I saw you going for the dap with Greg. Do not, Greg.
Oh, yeah, I'm not. Of course
Do
not.
not
trying
dap
to-
that man up.
No.
Let that be known.
All right.
I'm afraid of you. Genuinely, I'm afraid of you right now. Things
should
have
be.
gone too well for
You
you.
should be.
It's
You
not
should
good.
be.
The only thing I'm afraid of is the offseason.
Yeah.
If UConn wins the Natty, to have to deal with Rob, not even just the offseason, even the start of next year. Can you imagine? Oh, my
Hey,
God.
RC, the worst part about it is,
Oh,
I was talking
my
about this with Greg
God.
last night. They're a blue blood if they win this.
You know, it's funny. I'm prepared to say that. And I think later when we get into predictions, that's going to be part of it. But I was going to wait.
Might be one
I
if
was
they
going to
don't
wait
win, to be
until
honest.
tonight's show to kind of say when we get to predictions that I might have to come over to the dark side with that. But that's just to the fans of everybody else. I'm still not dealing with Rob shit. But if they win it, this might put them up in there. I might have to consider them that.
Elaborate on that real quick. Why? Because we had a long conversation about this.
I was just going
on
over
Wednesday.
teams that have won championships and how many they have won. And when you think about, the Blue Bloods, they've won, what was the number, Greg? Like 4 championships, something like that? UConn's in that
This will be the
territory.
5th one, right?
So this would be their 5th, correct?
Yes,
Rob?
this would be 5.
This
would be
5th.
5. Yep.
Them having 4 already puts them in that consideration for me with Blue Bloods. If they get the 5th, I don't think
There
it's up for
he
an
is.
argument.
Yep. Hey, we're going to go to break really quickly. We got a really special guest coming up next. Jerome Tang is with us from the Field of 68 live from the Final Four.
You know what the best part about the end of the college basketball season is? That signifies the start of spring, the start of summer, the start of hot weather, the start of late nights, the start of weekends on the water, and the best way to stay refreshed during the summer months is with Hornitos Ranch Water, a premium sparkling cocktail with a balance of freshly squeezed lime paired with smooth tequila notes. Hornitos Tequila is a 100% agave premium tequila from the lowlands of Jalisco. It's specifically from the town of Tequila. Originating from one of the most historic distilleries, Hornitos paved the way for all future tequila brands, starting with the tequila name. An official partner of the Houston Astros, you can buy Hornitos Ranch Water in a can, or you can come to Houston's best sports bar, Little Woodrow's in Edo, and get a fresh, handmade cocktail with Hornitos Tequila. There's nothing better on a warm spring day than Hornitos Ranch Water and a Houston Astros baseball game.
It's the Field of 68 live from the Final Four here in Houston, Texas at McIntyre's. And as you can see, we are now joined by the great Jerome Tang, Kansas State head coach and Naismith Coach of the Year as of what, 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, about 20 years. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. I was there standing on a stage with Bobby Cremins and Roy Williams and Tubby Smith. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah, it's wild to me still that in your first year at Kansas State, you went and you had this kind of a season. Were you, when you got the job, did you because we talked in the offseason, right? And you knew that you had a team here. And part of the reason I was bullish on you guys. I was hyping you guys up because I knew you were all fired up about it. But did you know you could be this? 3 seed, in the mix for Big 12 titles, making it to the Elite. Did you know you had this group?
No, I did not when it started. I thought we had a team that could get to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, once you're in there, anything can happen, right? But they came together quicker than expected. Marquise and Keontae, I thought they could be all conference guys. I didn't know they would have all American seasons, and just the rest of the team, the way they came along, it was just special, man.
I want to ask you about Keontae because not a lot of people had the guts to go that far. Once he got cleared, a lot of people were scared off. What was it about him, and more importantly about you, that thought that, hey, I wanted to reach out and give this young man a chance, that you believed in him?
Well, I knew he was serious about basketball, right? To give up the insurance policy that he was going to give up. And so I knew he loved the game. And then the same doctors that he worked with, we had worked with at Baylor with 3 other guys. And so I've helped other players get back in shape and go through this process. And so I haven't been through it before. I felt comfortable because of what his doctors were telling me. And I felt like we had stuff in place to be able to monitor him and all the things that he needed. But, you know, Randolph, what's crazy is that African-American males are more susceptible to cardiac arrest than any other demographic in the world. And it most of the time, like, well, actually all the time, they don't have a fail-safe in place.
Right.
You know, like, and whereas Keontae did. So if something was to happen, he had a smaller percentage of something going wrong than the regular players that we have. And so my thing was I had to make our whole staff, make our whole team, all the medical people aware of it, because we had more guys on the floor that did not have the protection that Keontae had.
Because you had to convince administration too, as well, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that goes for you to say, "Hey, I want this guy." I mean, there's a chain of command that goes through to convince everybody that, hey, this young man is going to be okay.
Yeah, and once our doctors were aware of everything, like just the risk that every one of our athletes
all of us,
yeah, you know, then they felt comfortable.
Good.
When you're coaching a guy that's gone through that, right? Like, one of the things about coaching, you try to push people past their limit, right?
Yes.
Push them past the point of exhaustion. Push them to try to be their best selves. When you're dealing with a guy that's had that heart issue, it takes a while. Like, that can't be the easiest thing to do when you know he's had that happen. When you say, "No, you could do more." If he's like, "I'm good," you know what I mean? Like, so how do you've had experience with that? So how do you kind of balance those two things?
You know, the first time I had to go through it, I was so concerned that every time someone breathed, the young man breathed heavy, it was a heart thing. But having gone through it a few times, it was great to be able to educate Keontae with the difference between what is lungs, what is legs, and what's heart.
What is mind?
And then we were able to show him, had other guys wear heart monitors so he could see their heart rate as compared to his, to see where he was at, and what was, hey, you could push a little harder, and what was, okay, now, hey, we're going to shut you down here. And so having the expertise in that aspect of dealing with it, and then having the information, the data to show him, was able to give him comfort in that he could push himself.
All right. So now that we've talked about the important stuff, let's talk about basketball stuff. Now I'm going to ask you a question here. I know you've been asked it before, but I need you to be honest. Because no matter what you say, I believe what I believe. Okay? I believe what I believe. The alley-oop. That was a call. That was set up, right?
I'm going with Marquise Noel's answer. Right? Marquise Noel said, like, hey, we're not going to tell anybody because that'll give it away. I'm going to tell you it was 2 players making a play. And just like the end of the Kansas game when you asked me about that, there was multiple options in what we were going to do, and that was 2 players making the play on.
You know what else Marquise said, though, is he turned to Isaiah Thomas and said, "Watch this." That didn't give away a little bit what was going on there. I mean, just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, I had no clue that he did that.
That wasn't part of the script.
Yeah, that wasn't part of the script.
Okay.
I felt, though, I had taken this emotional roller coaster ride. You had 2 people on your staff and 1 player, Kevin Sutton as a coach and Ishmael Massoud as a player. So I felt like I rode this roller coaster ride with you guys all year long, and thank you for a hell of a ride. You're so deserving of the National Coach of the Year award, and you guys came from out of nowhere to be among the best teams in the country. Question to you I have, what does this team look like going forward? How impactful will it be from transfer portal, philosophy-wise, or will it be high school freshmen? Like, how do you plan on building Kansas State?
Well, we want to be playing this weekend next year, right? That's just going to be the approach we'll take every year. You can't. I don't know that you can do that if you have 5 freshmen out on the floor playing a bunch of minutes and stuff like that. And so we're going to hit the transfer portal very hard. And I want to find 2 guards that have played 90 games of college basketball, that are passionate about getting better, and you know, they want to win. You know, this year we had the sub offense for defense at the 5 spot.
Yeah.
You know, and play some guys who really could be more 4 wings at the 5 spot. And I want to change that next year and get somebody who can like command the middle but is versatile enough to grab a rebound and start a break and can stretch the floor, do some dribble handoffs, be a lob threat. You know, that I want a guy like that. And with Naquan Tomlin, you know, he's gonna, you know, see what the NBA says and then make a decision. He comes back. I think he could have an All-American type year for us. And so, yeah, we're excited about the future. Got 3 great freshmen coming in. I just don't want to put the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Right.
And well, like I said, hopefully next year I can't do this interview with you.
Coach, I got to ask you one thing RC and I have talked about for years. Sometimes we can overanalyze every little thing, X's and O's that happens in a game. But sometimes it's just about who has more dudes.
Yeah.
And you alluded to that after your win against Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. Can you speak to what that meant in the moment when you said that and your general philosophy on that?
Yeah, you know, as coaches, we draw up these great plays, right?
Tell him, Coach.
And
Tell him, Coach.
but when we draw those up, those O's, we think all those O's have to be guarded. And like if those O's don't have to be guarded, then those X's have to, right? You got to have some dudes. Like everybody else knows what you're doing too, and players just got to go make plays. I don't know if Coach drew up you're gonna cross over Jamal Williams. He gonna fall down. We gonna look at him with your fingers and say, "Come here, bro," and then drill the 3. I don't know if Coach ever drew that up.
That wasn't in the playbook.
That might not have ever been in an individual workout either.
That wasn't
right? That was a player making a play, right? And I think as coaches, we got to give our guys freedom, right? Put them in space so that players can make plays. So my goal is to get, 4 weapons, guys who could score 20 or more points in a game, not every night, but on any given night, and then put them out there and give them the opportunity. And, we won a national championship at Baylor because we had 3 guys who could get 30 on any night. Right? And that's the goal.
So when you bring in a guy like Marquise Noel to the program, how do you balance the let him play, go have freedom, go be you with like, okay, you're getting a little too crazy right now, Mark. You need to let's rein it in a little bit. Like how do you balance that? Like keep it within the system, but also go be you.
Man, that's such a great question. And when we first started, I probably was on the side of see the game the way I see the game, and then it was a pastor preached a message, and God spoke to my heart about Marquise Noel and how I was treating him and how I was viewing him. I wasn't viewing him as the word was that Marquise Noel was my arrow, and I was going to win with him, and he's the dude I need to shoot. And I called him in my office, and I apologized to him because I was looking at all the other point guards I'd coached, right? And he wasn't he was my arrow. And I told him we're going to win with him, and I wanted him to go play his game, but what was going to happen is I was going to spend more time trying to see the game the way he saw the game, right? And less time trying to get him to see the game the way I saw the game, and then come to that compromise because all I need him to do is take care of the ball, right? You can do what you want, but just don't turn the thing over. And he really bought into that. And I told our staff, take your hands off. I want to hear nothing about shot selection, none of that. And we're going to let this young fella play. He was our arrow. And, man, he just blossomed in it.
Hey, RC, how many shots would you have taken if your coach was like, I'm not worried about shot selection?
Listen,
imagine letting him do that.
I'm laughing because it is relatable when you have that relationship. That's what I grew up playing with, a coach that gave me confidence to say, now you dials you back because with that long leash comes a level of expectations. You set the parameters and you allow him to play with that. And it's funny because I called Sutton while I was here and we talked about that. Because I asked him, I said, how does, as a staff, and this is more, I ask you this, as a coach, when you do that and you win with that, and then sometimes you lose with that. And you got to be okay with that. And obviously, you're okay with that. And I thought of, because again, I put myself in Marquise's situation. And I thought, okay, he's strong enough and you're okay with going this far. And then do you wonder now, like, hey, do I do a better job of maybe dialing him in those last few minutes He played an unbelievable game. But you know, people can nitpick and say, oh, maybe they can run more sets or maybe run the extra isolation plays. Like, do you look back at the last couple minutes of possessions of a game like that and say, oh, you just okay with where it ends?
Well, obviously, we go back and analyze everything.
Right.
And there was a stretch there where we caused 4 turnovers and we didn't capitalize on it. And we probably need to make simple plays in those situations, right? But the same between the leg pass that he threw to Naquan Tomlin that ended up being a turnover, right? Quan bobbles it,
yes.
we don't get it finished, was the same when he threw to Keontae against
Yes, it can't be good when it's good and then bad when it's
right.
bad.
So you guys, but I'll tell you this, if Keontae Johnson is on the floor for more than 18 minutes, right, then there's a different outcome. So it's not necessarily what we were doing, it's who we was doing it with, right? And like, I mean, they, you know, Florida Atlantic played great defense, man, because my man had 2 fouls early in the first half, and then he had 5 fouls, you know, with like 8 to go, you know.
You're not bitter about that at all.
When he was able to play, we went from down 6 to up 5.
I want to ask you something serious as being a black head coach in your journey. There's so many people. Your journey is different. Like we just had Rodney here. He was a head coach at previous stops.
Yes.
For you to wait as long as you did and then to have this type of success, what does that mean and how important is that journey for a black head coach? Is it for you?
Well, I hope that I make it easier for the next Jerome Tang, that he can get it a little sooner, right? But I don't regret my journey at all because I had to get to a point in my life where being a head coach, the title, that wasn't the thing that defined me, that who I was as a man defined me, and my relationship with God, how I love my wife and raise my children, you know, that I didn't need that title. And when I was able to set that aside and say, God, whatever it is you have for me, I will do, then it allowed me to realize that this coaching thing, it's not about the X's and O's and stuff. We manage people, right? We manage people and try to put people in a situation for them to live their best life. And when my mindset changed from me trying to get good and get the job to me helping others get the job or me helping others grow in their journey in this basketball thing, you know, it just made me a better prepared for what I do right now and why we've had success this year.
Have you finished the movie room in your house yet?
Huh?
Have you finished the movie theater in your house yet?
Yeah, the movie theater is done. Now I have to learn how to operate it. But the movie theater's done.
All right, so here's my proposal. Next year we come out again for a Field of 68 live show, and then we have a screening because you guys got to see this movie theater he's got. Tell him how big the screen is.
It's like 120 inches.
Yeah.
It might be bigger than that now.
Wow. About as big as this up here, right?
Yeah, it's like that.
Well, listen, Jerome.
Wait, I got one more. I'm sorry. Lil Baby, Lowdown. Where did the love for that song come from? How did the movement with the clap and all that, where did it come from?
All right. So from the start of the year, the guys pick a song, right? Like, and we clap. So the very first time we done, remember, this is the first time I've ever stood at the front of the room before a game, and the first time they've ever seen me stand at the front of the room before a game. So I tell, hey, what song? Pick a song. I don't even know what the song was, right? And so we started clap. And then, you know, as they figure out okay, so this is what we're going to do. This is what coach is about. So then they started picking different songs. Well, that one kind of hit. I like the beat. I didn't know who sung it. I didn't know the name, didn't know anything about it, right? And so we've been doing this for a while. And 6 weeks ago, I asked my son, his name is Seven. I said, Seven, who's Lil Baby? And he's like, Daddy. And so he breaks it down to me, right? So then, lo and behold, this is 6 weeks later, my son, he comes to me, he says, Daddy, everybody on campus thinks you're so cool because you know Little Baby. I'm almost tempted to tell him.
You don't have no idea who that is.
So really, all I do is they pick the song, I look at Naquan Tomlin, he gets me on beat. Once I get on beat, then I just hit him with the hitch.
You get it with the two-step. You just go right to the two-step.
Right there. My feet never move. My upper body moves a little bit. I ain't kidding. That's all that is. But
It was incredible, man. I had so much fun watching your team, but I had so much fun watching those videos throughout your run as well. I congratulate you on a phenomenal season. The Naismith Coach of the Year, Kansas State head coach Jerome Tang. Thank you so much for being here with us. And we're going to go to break. Coming up next, we're going to give some predictions for the big game tomorrow. That's next on the Field of 68 from the Final Four.
Today's episode of the Field of 68 After Dark is presented by our partners over at Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's Final Four games. And pick'em, all you do is pick whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether it's points or rebounds or assists or all of them combined. If you're like me and you think Adama Sanogo is going to go nuts this weekend, pick higher on his points projection, pick higher on his rebounds projection, maybe throw in a lower on Matt Bradley's scoring totals, a higher on Isaiah Wong, whatever it is that you like. Put them all together, and if you hit them all, then you can win as much as 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured out how to use it. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, that's FIELD, to get a 100% deposit match up to $100.
Welcome back. It's the Field of 68 live from the Final Four. What a jam-packed show we have had. Texas head coach Rodney Terry was here. Kansas State head coach Jerome Tang was here. The legend Randolph Childress is here. The legend Carter Elliott is here. I'm Greg Waddell, and we have this guy as well. Anyways, look, we're going to do a lot of breakdowns tonight on X's and O's.
We just did it anyways. We got lost.
We're going to go in-depth tonight on what this matchup really is. We're going to tell you where the advantages may lie for UConn, what San Diego State needs to do to win and to cut down the nets. But I want to get into that just slightly. I want to wade into that to end this show before we come back to it tonight in depth for our larger show. So RC, after having one night to sleep on this and a couple hours here at this show, what is your initial prediction for the game tomorrow?
I think it'll be closer than everyone expects. Only because I think this team physically can match up with the physicality of UConn. I think UConn will win it, but I don't think it'll be the landslide. Other people say 13-14. I think this will be the first game that UConn has played in the tournament that's a single-digit win, that they're going to have to play their best basketball at the end. Have they played all year long? They're going to have to play a good 40-minute game if they want to win this game tomorrow.
Carter?
You know what I hate to say, and I hate to bring it up, but how the game's going to be officiated tomorrow is going to be huge on the outcome of the game, because it's two physical teams. There's going to be touch fouls. They could call and they might not. But because of the physicality of the game, I think the refs are really going to have an effect on it. But I agree with RC. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Everyone's been counting San Diego State out this whole tournament, and they're counted out on Monday as well, if we're being honest. So I think at a certain point, it's a national championship game. You got to stop counting this team out. They're going to battle. So it's going to be close, I think.
I think it's going to come down to the pace. It's going to come down to how, whether or not San Diego State can kind of control the tempo of the game, right? If this becomes an up and down, 75 possession game that's played in the high 70s or the 80s, I don't think San Diego State can play with UConn at that tempo. And I think that UConn, frankly, can run on them there, right? They can get those defensive rebounds. Andre Jackson, the grab and goes, hit people in transition, finding those open threes, because San Diego State will go to the offensive glass. If UConn can get out and run, if they can make it a game that's played like this, I don't think San Diego State can run with them. If San Diego State can turn it into a 65 possession, a slugfest, UConn's got to go up again, play half-court offense. They got to run their sets. They got to try to score. If it's in the 60s, I think San Diego State's got a real good chance at making this thing close. And what did you say the other day? UConn has not played close games.
Right.
And when they have played close games, they have not been as successful.
Right.
So if you make it close, I think you got a chance. And I think San Diego State can make it
But
close.
I think they have one thing we talked about before. They have depth. They don't just have physicality, they have depth. And one thing I will say, I'm not pushing back or disagreeing with what you're saying, because traditionally that's their style defensively. But they've played teams in their league that they've beat. Like Utah State is one of the better offensive teams in the league, perimeter oriented, that they've beaten 3 times. They showed us again at FAU. They scored a little bit more, changed their defense a little bit, the ability to switch 5 when they need it. Guard play physical enough to defend. There's no guard is defending Sanogo inside. No one's doing that. But this team matches up better than any team in the tournament that UConn has played. And again, I'm picking UConn to win it, but I think this San Diego State is right here.
You're picking them now, and then as soon as the UConn fans show up,
I'm gonna give him shit. I'm gonna give him shit if the UConn fans start getting on my back about it.
RC, you mean to tell me the number 1 defense in the country is a worse matchup for UConn than a bunch of horrible defenses that they've played in this tournament? Really?
No,
I had no idea.
But it's not just that. Because the one thing I'll say is, I thought this about Houston. Because of the conference that they was in, throw the analytics out now. You know, this team matches up because they got size. They got multiple bigs. They have fouls to throw inside. They have a 1-2 punch at the 5 spot, too. Who else has UConn played has that type of depth to do that? They can come in with Ledee that can impact the game. Who was their go-to guy last night?
How do you think that's going to work with this matchup? Because for me,
well.
Golden's a lot more plotting than
he was
what
at
we'll
a
see with
physical.
Sanogo,
He was
right?
at a physical disadvantage. Ledee isn't. He's a skilled, physically strong guy that could come in and impact this game, similar to the way Clingan does.
Yes.
Those guys play 10 to 15 minutes and impact the game at a high level. You saw him match that last night. Yeah. So those are the little matchups that we're talking about that makes this game so critical. But they defend, and they do have a level of physicality that, again, we've been joking. Did I pick Miami? I thought Miami could play better. They didn't. Credit to UConn. But this team physically matches up better than any team I think that they play that can score something.
I think the biggest issue that San Diego State's going to run into is Nathan Mensah and what they do with him. Because since UConn kind of figured this thing out with Andre Jackson, the way that they have been able to beat, or the way that they have been beaten is what Marquette did, where they basically went small, right? They put 5 shooters on the floor. They forced UConn to go to a 2-3 zone because UConn could not take advantage offensively because of the ball pressure. You get out, you pressure them, you make them run offense 40 feet away from the basket.
And that's their standard.
You don't let them get the ball into Sanogo and those seals, and then you spread UConn out and create the mismatches on the other end of the floor. That's how Marquette beat them in the Big East Tournament semifinals. And I don't think San Diego State can do that offensively. Ledee, as good as he is, that dude can't shoot. If he's shooting 12-foot jump shots, that's what you want as a defense. He can't shoot. Nathan Mensah, not a shooter. If he's shooting jump shots, that's what you want. You want that possession. So my question is, Carter, what can San Diego State do offensively to be able to negate that? Because if you look at what UConn's done, they held Miami to their worst offensive performance of the season. They held Gonzaga to their worst offensive performance of the season. They held Arkansas to one of their worst offensive performances of the season. We can talk about what we want offensively. Right now, where this team is rolling is on the defensive end.
See, but all those teams that you just mentioned aren't teams that strike me as they're physical at the rim. The one thing about San Diego State's guards is that when they go to the rim, Matt Bradley, when he goes to the hole, he's going strong. The Miami guards weren't going as strong as I thought they needed to last night, and that's why Clingan and Sanogo were able to affect the game. Now, they are, big physical presence that can affect at the rim, but the way that San Diego State's guards can go to the rim, they're bigger guards. Like Matt Bradley's shaped like a linebacker. Like, he's not going to go soft into the hole. So, I think they had.
Honestly, it looks like Brian Dutcher just went to the San Diego State football team and recruited all the walk-on defensive ends.
He went for tight ends and safety.
You ain't playing there. Come on,
he got some tight ends and safety.
This
is your backup safety right here.
Put the gun machine away. We're going to go get you in the weight room, get on the squat rack. That's all we need. I need physicality. I need muscles. But I'm saying this team physically is not going to be intimidated in the paint at the rim. That goes for both ends, not just defensive. Offensively, I think they're going to be able to play strong inside. And, of course, UConn can match it, but I don't think a team up until this point has necessarily tried to match them physically. And I think San Diego State can do that.
Yeah. I said last night before the game, when I picked Florida Atlantic with you, RC, I said 2 things scared me about San Diego State. 1, I didn't think they could win a game where their opponent was making shots. I just didn't. All tournament long, that's why they were winning games. Nobody could get going from 3. Last night, Florida Atlantic, 6 threes in the first half. Couple in that flurry to start the second half. They still found a way to survive it. 2, I said if they got down 10 at any point, it was wraps. stops. I didn't think the way San Diego State plays indicated they had any chance that they could come back and speed up tempo a little bit and just get enough stops consistently. Now, last night, to your point, we talked about a little bit last night, the way the game was officiated, I think, did open the door for them to claw back. They didn't have to do it in a run in 4 minutes. They were able to do it over a 10-minute stretch. It was still impressive, but the fact that they did that in those two things, those two boxes were checked, and they still got a win against Florida Atlantic, gives me a lot more confidence that they can hang against UConn than I would have said before last night.
Go ahead.
Well, real quick, you talk about the comeback. It's not the first time they came back in the game either.
No.
They were down by like 12 against Alabama, right?
Yep.
In the second half, they came back and won that
But
game.
the difference there, though, is that Alabama does some incredibly stupid things on a basketball court. It just is. Like the way they play.
Well, it goes back to what my point was when we were talking to Coach Tang earlier. Sometimes when it's almost like saying the same thing that makes you laugh, make you cry.
Yeah.
So when you do things that help you go up, sometimes taking quick shots, taking quote-unquote bad shots are things that get you in trouble, and it does against really good defensive teams like that. I'll push back a little bit on the officiating because we're going into a game where is that officiating mattered in the FAU San Diego State game because it's like, hey, if you're not going to call it and let it be physical, it favors San Diego State. Miami, UConn, if you're going to let it be a physical matchup, that favors UConn. This is a game, either way, it doesn't matter. You want to both teams go 9 deep. It doesn't matter. If you want to call it tight, they force to use their bench, they use it anyway. If you don't and you want to let them play, there's not a physical advantage one way or the other the way it was in the semifinals. That's why I think this game is just, it's more evenly matched physically. You know, the only advantage I say UConn has is the most explosive guy on the floor can be Hawkins. Does he get going? If he doesn't, I think they can defend some of the other guys.
Yeah, that's what I keep coming back to on this, right? Is San Diego State can out-tough them.
Yes.
UConn is as tough as anybody. San Diego State can out-tough
They're right there.
The skill level, I think, is drastically different. I think UConn is significantly more skilled and more talented than the San Diego State team is.
Where would you say it? You take away the explosiveness
everywhere.
I mean, RC, if you're picking players for your team,
yeah, like I think
I'm probably picking. I mean, it's a snap decision. I'm probably picking 5 UConn players before I pick.
Honestly,
before
I'd say because we've seen more of them than we've seen of San Diego State. Off of what we've seen here and in this tournament run, because of the style that they play, you're not gonna get.
All right, let me ask. Let me phrase
seen
it
a lot
like
of
this.
San Diego State.
Who on San Diego State would get into UConn's starting lineup?
I think Matt Bradley would.
Matt Bradley would play.
Yeah.
Would start over.
Yeah.
Over who?
You can pick. You can move guys around.
Outside of Hawkins, he can start for you at anywhere you want him to start.
He's very clearly a top 5 player in this game.
Okay.
He would start for you.
You could probably make an argument for Trammell starting over Newton too. You could make an argument.
Over Tristan Newton?
You can make an argument.
Hey, you're gonna clip that and send that to Tristan, right?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
I'm just fine with that. I got UConn on
There's
Monday.
no doubt in my mind the UConn staff is watching this right now. Someone there. What's up, guys? How we doing?
Shout out to my man Kamani Young. I'm cheering for you.
I back Dan Hurley when I say Kamani and Luke should both have head coaching jobs, but I'm going to say I'm not complaining that they're on this staff still.
I'm happy for him for personal reasons. I'm cheering for him. Even when I have ties to UConn. As you know, I've said that to you. Even when I picked them to win. To lose. So, but
you know what? RC's just, I respect what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. Screw this. Go Aztecs. We cannot have UConn win. We cannot have them waltz to a national championship. We cannot let this man be happy. It will ruin my life.
He is insufferable to be around if they freaking win this thing. He's the reason why I go against him. He is.
It's fair.
It's not the fans out here. It's him. They just don't understand. I'm telling you, I may submit my papers. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to type up my email. And if UConn wins, I'm going to take about 2 weeks off and decide if I'm going to send my
See,
resignation.
I don't need an email. I need the iPhone Notes app. I need to and just post it on Twitter.
Right.
And just post it on Twitter.
I'm going to do everything in my power to get everybody on this network in San Diego State jerseys for tonight's show. Back here at McIntyre's, live from Houston, Texas. As you can see behind us, it is heating up. This was a great 2 hours for Randolph Childress, for Rob Dauster, Carter Elliott, Trevor Valise, Dagan Hughes behind the scenes, John Fanta, Terrence Oglesby, Jerome Tang, Rodney Terry. My name is Greg Waddell. We'll see you tonight again here at 5 p.m. Central Time at McIntyre's.